The first thing I did after being reborn as a baby Megalodon was turn myself over to my country. This kicked off a nationwide feeding event with 1.4 billion people, all because Japan started dumping nuclear wastewater. In 2 months, all marine life will mutate, turning the entire planet into a hunting ground for monstrous beasts. Against these creatures, humanity's nuclear weapons are as useless as toy firecrackers. In less than a month, 99% of the human population will be wiped out. In my past life, the Emperor died fighting to protect my homeland, devoured by one of those beasts. But when I woke up again, I had been reborn as a baby Megalodon. I'd also awakened the Devour and Purify System. As long as I keep eating, I can evolve without limit. Right now, my sharp senses had just detected a group of sea turtles nearby. Ding devouring prey grants purification points and a chance to acquire the species' special skill. Among the turtles, one was injured. The strong scent of its blood had already attracted several other sharks. And then a great white shark nearly 4 meters long suddenly appeared. Ding warning predator detected great white shark. Devouring it will grant 3 purification points. There's also a 5% chance of getting its species skill short-range acceleration. My pupils contracted. I'd never forget this great white, not even in death. On the 3rd day of the beast apocalypse in my past life, it was its mutated form, the steel-fanged shark, that crushed the rescue boat I was protecting in a single bite. All 37 unarmed people on board became its lunch. Before I was reborn, that was the first time I had ever tasted true powerlessness. The 4-meter great white shot forward like a silver torpedo, cracking right into the turtles. Under its dagger-like teeth, their hard shells were as brittle as paper. Blood instantly stained the entire area, sending the nearby sharks into a frenzy. As they all swarmed in, I fought back my own urge to feed and quietly moved closer. While the great white was distracted, I unleashed the full power of my tail fin. My 3-meter body shot forward like a cannonball, slamming violently into the great white's belly. A muffled crunch of breaking bones echoed through the water. The great white shuddered in pain. I launched its entire body clean out of the water, sending it flying through the air in a terrifying arc. It slammed back down into the sea before it could even turn to counterattack. My razor-sharp triangular teeth had already sunk deep into its gills, a shark's most fatal weakness. Ding host has successfully devoured the great white shark. 3 evolution points acquired. Ding congratulations host. Skill extraction triggered. Species skill acquired, short-range acceleration. A thrilling surge of a new power coursed through my body, but I was completely oblivious to what was happening. That shocking moment when I launched the great white shark into the air had been perfectly captured on video by a young fisherman on a nearby boat. His name was Xiao Hu. In my past life during the apocalypse, he was the one who rowed a small wooden boat, navigating through swarms of beasts to bring the last of the fresh water and food to those of us desperately holding the line. In the end, a mutated seabird tore him to shreds right on the water's surface. Half an hour later, a video titled "Prehistoric Megalodon Sends Great White Flying" instantly blew up across the entire internet. It racked up over 100 million views in an hour, and its explosive popularity caught the attention of one particular person. The world's top biologist, Jeremy Wade, a man who had spent his entire life hunting for giant deep-sea monsters. The moment he saw the video, his fists clenched. 3 days later, a state-of-the-art research vessel arrived in the waters where the video was filmed. Jeremy suited up in full deep-sea diving gear. Ignoring the protests of his crew, he insisted on diving into these very waters. He had the crew chum the water with tons of fish guts, and the scent of blood quickly attracted dozens of sharks. But the mysterious mega shark he was looking for still hadn't shown up. 100 meters below the surface, I could clearly sense Jeremy inside the shark cage. I slowly swished my tail fin and swam towards the cage. My enormous shadow fell across the ocean floor, and the surrounding sharks scattered in an instant. They even forgot their killer instincts. Through the cage's tempered glass, Jeremy saw me slowly approaching, and his pupils contracted in an instant. He'd seen countless deep-sea monsters, but never before in the eyes of a shark. Had he seen such clear intelligence and calm? There wasn't a trace of bloodlust, just a serene presence, almost compassionate. I stopped in front of the cage. No ramming, no biting. I just gently nudged the glass with my snout. Jeremy was stunned for a moment. He tremblingly reached out, pressing his hand against the glass where my snout was. He could clearly see the dagger-like teeth in my mouth. If I wanted to, that glass in his body would be torn to shreds in an instant. I slowly swished my tail fin at him. Using my body, I created a rhythmic vibration in the water. It was Morse code. Nuclear waste, mutation. Danger. Jeremy's face went pale. He had studied marine life his entire life. He knew better than anyone the irreversible damage that nuclear waste could do to marine genetics. He understood my message instantly and the blood in his veins ran cold. My warning delivered, I turned and swam back into the deep. Vanishing into the black water, Jeremy frantically grabbed his communicator. He screamed at his assistant on the boat, "Quick surface now! I have to make this public. This shark isn't a monster. It's warning us a catastrophe is coming." Within 24 hours, Jeremy's video and his research statement went viral worldwide. The video showed my massive body cruising through the water and the moment I touched the glass opposite him. It broke the internet. My knees went weak just watching this on screen. Could those teeth really chew through an aircraft carrier and it's actually intelligent? The professor said it was sending a warning. What is this thing, a guardian of the sea? Where are all the people who said nuclear waste was harmless? Step up now. A prehistoric megashark has more of a conscience than you guys do. Overnight, countless influencers, explorers, and thrill seekers flocked to the area. This patch of ocean became the hottest tourist spot on the planet. What they didn't know was that the very sea they were flocking to had already become a breeding ground for nuclear mutations, 1,000 meters below the surface. I was chasing a giant deep-sea fish when the system's alarm suddenly blared. Mutated creature detected, giant octopus, length 8 meters, level 5, early stage radiation. Devouring the mutant will grant 5 evolution points. 10% chance of acquiring species skill, Master of Disguise. In the thick darkness, several massive tentacles ripped through the water like steel whips. They shot straight for my face. The octopus's tentacles were covered in mutated suckers. Severed ends regenerated at a visible rate. The nuclear radiation had completely scrambled its genetics. I flicked my tail fin, triggering a short burst of speed, and instantly dodged the tentacle's deadly grip. The cold tips of the tentacles grazed my skin, and the current they created stung as it scraped against me. In my past life, mutants of this deformed octopus were among the toughest monsters to deal with at the coastal defense lines. Their tentacles could drill through steel plates, and their regenerative abilities were off the charts. Countless warriors had died in their crushing grip as more tentacles surged from the darkness. They swarmed around me, but instead of retreating, I charged straight ahead. I tore viciously at the base of the tentacles. The ones I bit off fell to the seabed, still writhing wildly, and new tentacles grew back in an instant. Just as I was locked in battle with the deformed octopus, human screams echoed from the surface. An influencer's speedboat was stopped nearby the streamer, holding up his phone and screaming at the ocean. He tossed a few chunks of whale meat into the sea, and the scent of blood completely enraged the mutated octopus. The deformed octopus suddenly gave up its attack on me as several tentacles burst from the water's surface. They wrapped tightly around a girl's leg on the speedboat, instantly dragging her into the sea. The girl's scream was cut short as the water was instantly stained red with blood. The people on the boat were scared out of their wits. The streamer frantically wrestled with the rudder, trying to escape this deadly patch of ocean, but the deformed octopus had no intention of letting them go. More tentacles wrapped around the speedboat's hull, and the fiberglass body began to crack under the strain. As I watched this scene, memories from my past life flooded back. Scenes just like this had played out countless times during the apocalypse. Unarmed humans didn't even have a chance to struggle against the mutated beasts. I whipped my tail hard, launching my entire body out of the water like a cannonball. I opened my massive jaws and clamped down on the deformed octopus's main torso. My sharp teeth pierced its body in an instant. No matter how wildly its tentacles lashed at my body, I refused to let go. Not until I had completely crushed its torso. Host has successfully devoured the mutated deformed octopus, received 5 evolution points. Congratulations, Host, for triggering a skill draw, acquired species skill, Master of Disguise. Beginner level. Detected that Host has devoured a nuclear radiation mutant. Awakened passive skill radiation immunity, beginner level. The system's notification snapped me back to reality. I saw the girl who'd been dragged underwater sinking toward the seabed. She had already lost consciousness. Her name was Sue Wan. In my past life, she was a combat medic on the EC front line during the apocalypse. When I was critically injured and on the brink of death, she was the one who braved the beast's attacks to give me emergency treatment. In the end, she died from the fangs of a mutant sea serpent while covering the retreat of civilians. With a powerful flick to my giant tail, I swam beneath her. I used my broad back to gently support her limp body, slowly rising to the surface. I brought her next to the speedboat. The people on board were completely terrified. It wasn't until I gently nudged the girl's body with my snout that they snapped out of it. They scrambled to pull the girl onto the boat. After watching them get her to safety, I turned, swished my tail, and disappeared beneath the waves. But this entire scene was broadcast live by the streamer on the speedboat. The number of live viewers instantly surpassed 10 million. The hashtags intelligent megashark saves human and son of the ocean shot to the top of global trending charts. Countless people watched the video of me tearing the mutant octopus to shreds in one bite, and then gently lifting the girl back to the boat, and they were completely blown away. But what no one knew was that on the other side of the planet, in a top-secret biological research institute, this very video was playing on a loop on a large screen. The head of the institute, Dr. Rosen, was watching me on the screen. His eyes gleamed with a feverish greed. This madman, it was him from my past life. The one who secretly championed the discharge of nuclear wastewater. He even secretly experimented with mutating sea life using radiation. He's at least half responsible for the outbreak of the beast tide. When it escaped, it was only 3 meters long. In just a few weeks, it grew to 8. Dr. Rosen slammed his finger on the screen, screaming at the researchers behind him. I don't care what species it is or why it's growing so fast. I want you to capture it alive. I'm going to slice it up for research. I will uncover the genetic secrets of this ancient creature. The researchers behind him trembled, too terrified to object. What no one knew was that Dr. Rosen had already partnered with an illegal multinational biotech corporation, the Abyss Hunters. They had already dispatched their most elite deep-sea hunting fleet, and it was now speeding towards my location. I, of course, was completely oblivious as I continued my descent. I dove 2,000 meters into the pitch-black abyss, a place where sunlight never reaches. The pressure here could crush a normal submarine into a pancake, but for me now, it was as casual as a stroll through my own backyard. Biology detected. Deep-sea anglerfish. Consumed to gain 1 evolution point. 3% chance to acquire the species' ability bioluminescence. I gobbled them up one by one, the crunch of the surrounding anglerfish echoing in the water. The bioluminescence ability might seem useless, but I knew from my past life that many of the late-stage mutant beasts were deep-sea species with a crippling fear of light. This ability would be their ultimate weakness, and just then, a piercing shriek of metal echoed from the distance. It was a human deep-sea probe. It was descending unsteadily, its warning lights flashing like crazy. It had clearly surpassed its maximum depth. Inside, a man and a woman were glued to the screen. The woman was Jia Yu, one of the nation's top deep-sea exploration experts. The man was her assistant. In my past life, it was Jia Yu's probe that transmitted the beast's movements to us during the fiercest moments of the tide. In the end, her probe was torn to shreds by the beasts, and she didn't even leave a body behind. Just one more try. This is our chance to break the world record. Jia Yu gripped the controls, ignoring her assistant's protests. She was determined to go deeper. Professor, your life is more important. The pressure is already at its limit. We can get the data next time. The assistant's voice was tinged with panic. The next second, a heavy thud echoed through the sub. The entire probe jolted violently, throwing them both against the bulkhead. Jia Yu looked out the viewport and her pupils constricted. 2 colossal shadows were locked in a vicious battle in the pitch-black depths. One of them, me. Biology detected giant squid. Length 18 meters, level 7. Primary mutant. Consumed to gain 10 evolution points. 8% chance to acquire the species' ability Abyssal Stealth. This giant squid's tentacles were as thick as steel cables. Its suckers were lined with sharp hooks that whipped against my body, instantly carving bloody gashes into my flesh. This was an apex predator of the deep. Nuclear radiation had multiplied its size and strength. In my past life, these mutated giant squids could easily capsize 10,000-ton freighters. Its tentacles wrapped around my torso. The feeling of suffocation was immediate. I'd fought these monsters countless times in my past life. I knew their weaknesses all too well. I whipped my head around. I chomped down on its thickest main tentacle, and my sharp teeth instantly severed the nerves. The searing pain made it release its grip, instinctively trying to struggle free. But I wasn't about to give it a chance. I activated a burst of speed. My whole body shot forward, and I sank my teeth into its head. No matter how its remaining tentacles thrashed wildly against my body, I refused to let go. Until its struggling grew weaker and weaker, and it finally stopped moving altogether. Host has successfully devoured the mutant giant squid. 10 evolution points gained. Congratulations, Host. Skill draw triggered. Acquired species skill. Deep sea propulsion beginner level. Host level up to 7. Body length has increased to 12 meters. Immunity to extreme deep sea pressure unlocked. I shook the blood and grime from my body. I looked up and saw the deep sea probe nearby. I remembered Jia Yu. I remembered everything he did for humanity in my past life, and slowly swam towards the probe. I didn't attack. I just gently tapped the observation window with my tail. Inside the cabin, Jia Yu stared at the behemoth before him, trembling all over. He had just watched this giant shark shred a giant squid powerful enough to ensnare a submarine. But now there was no malice in its eyes. Instead, there was a strange familiarity, a gentleness he couldn't comprehend. Facing the probe, I once again used my body to tap out a message in Morse code. Nuclear wastewater, 2 months, triggers beast tide, front lines collapse, China's East Sea defense, prepare now. Xia Yu froze. His professor Zhao Yingquan was the nation's top expert on marine biology and nuclear radiation. He had been desperately warning that the nuclear wastewater would trigger a genetic catastrophe in marine life, but no one would listen. And now the message from this intelligent prehistoric shark matched his professor's research perfectly. My warning delivered, I turned activated deep-sea propulsion and vanished into the pitch-black depths. Xia Yu frantically piloted the probe to the surface. He had to get back and tell his professor everything immediately. Half a day later, Xia Yu was back on land, bursting into Professor Zhao Yingquan's office. Zhao Yingquan was sitting in front of a monitor playing the video of me launching the great white shark into the air over and over. The elderly man's brow was deeply furrowed, his hair streaked with gray. In my past life, he was the supreme commander of China's East Sea defense line, and during the final battle, he pressed the nuclear detonation button, sacrificing himself along with the invading beast hive. He died in the same place I did. Professor, look. Xia Yu plugged a flash drive into the monitor and the screen immediately showed the footage of me and the giant squid. The footage of our struggle and the clip of me lingering in front of the probe. It's the shark, he said. He's not just intelligent. He was giving us a warning. The nuclear wastewater will trigger a beast tide in 2 months. Zhao Yingquan stared at my image on the screen, his hands clenching into tight fists. So tight his knuckles turned white. He had dedicated his entire life to studying marine ecology. After the nuclear wastewater was released, the genetic mutation data he'd collected from marine life had already exceeded safe levels by more than 1,000 times. He thought he was going crazy until he saw the message I had delivered. Just then the phone rang sharp and urgent. Zhao Yingquan snatched up the receiver. The news on the other end made him roar into the phone. What? They're still going to release more of those insane, heartless madmen. He didn't have time to explain to Xia Yu, just grabbed his coat and rushed out the door. He had to get to the capital at once to report all the data, and every single one of the warnings. There isn't much time left for humanity, and as for me, I'm in the depths of the Western Pacific, devouring and evolving as I go. I've leveled up my Master of Disguise skill to level 2, now I can mimic the form of any ocean creature. It lasts for 60 minutes, this skill saved my life countless times in my past life. Creature detected Pacific green sea turtle. Devour to obtain evolution points. With a single thought, I instantly activate Master of Disguise. My massive body twists and contorts in the water, and in the blink of an eye, I'm a green sea turtle identical to the ones nearby. I blend into the group of turtles unnoticed. The leader of the group senses something's off. It swims up to me, studying me for a moment. But eventually, it lets its guard down and leads the group toward the beach ahead. 30 minutes later, the turtles reach the shore. But before they can even crawl ashore, the roar of fishing boats closes in. Several fishing boats charge in, the men on board armed with nets and iron hooks. Without hesitation, they start dragging the nesting turtles onto their boats. The sounds of their struggle fill the air, and in a flash, the boats are filled to the brim. These men are low-level members of the Abyss Hunter Syndicate. They're capturing sea turtles to use as subjects for their radiation mutation experiments. In my past life, countless marine creatures were destroyed by their experiments. Just then, my Master of Disguise ability wears off. My massive shark body instantly reforms and I ram it directly into the hull of a fishing boat. The entire vessel shatters like paper sunk in an instant. The men on board dive into the sea, swimming for their lives toward the shore. With a single flick of my tail, I whip up a wave that sends them flying. As for whether they make it to shore alive, well, that's up to fate. With that done, I turn and swim back towards the deep sea. But I don't get far before the system's red alert suddenly screams to life. Warning! High-intensity active sonar detected. Locking onto source. Source Abyss Hunter Pursuit Fleet. Total of 5 destroyer-class vessels. Converging on host position. Warning! Depth charge deployment detected. Evasive action is advised. My heart sinks. These lunatics, they're actually using military-grade hardware to hunt me. They couldn't care less about the marine ecosystem. In my previous life, it was their sonar weapons that trapped me, and the depth charges that left me so badly wounded I was helpless during the final stand. Without a moment's hesitation, I activate deep sea stealth. Dive rapidly, heading for the seabed 3,000 meters below, but the depth charges are already right behind me. A series of terrifying explosions erupts all around me. The shockwaves slam into my body like sledgehammers. The world spins as the force of the blast throws my descent into chaos. Report, Captain. Depth charges have covered the designated area. Confirming shockwave impact. The target's descent has been halted. Current depth 300 meters. Deploy the sonar jammer. Block its escape route. Send in the underwater assault team. I want it alive. The fleet commander's voice echoes through the sonar right into my senses. Excruciating pain tears through my entire body. Shrapnel from the explosions has torn several gashes in my skin deep enough to see bone. Blood pours into the surrounding water as 3 fully armed combat divers had already jumped from the ship and were diving fast straight for me. They were holding tranquilizer guns loaded with a serum specifically designed for giant sea creatures. One hit and even a blue whale would be knocked out instantly. But what they didn't know is that this deep sea isn't their turf, it's mine. The team leader had just reached 200 meters when a terrified scream erupted from his comms. Ineda is gone. Before he could even finish, a massive tentacle shot out from the darkness. It instantly wrapped around the second diver, dragging him into the endless dark. The screams on the comms cut off abruptly. The last remaining diver, the team leader, was scared witless. He swam for the surface like a madman. That was me using my Master of Disguise ability to simulate a monstrous octopus. Bastard! I watched him scramble for the surface, then shot straight for him. I crushed his oxygen tank in one bite, then shapeshifted into his form and headed for the surface. The patrolman on deck saw me surface and immediately rushed over. They hauled me aboard and rushed me to the infirmary. Lying on the medical bed, I slowly opened my eyes, a cold smirk playing on my lips. These lunatics almost left me for dead at the bottom of the sea. I'll make them pay for that 100 times over. Just then, the fleet commander Fujiwara Kenji walked in. He was the head of the Abyss Hunter Group's Asia-Pacific division. In my past life, he'd hunted me countless times. His hands were stained with the blood of countless sea creatures and humans. Matsushita, are you feeling any better? What exactly happened down there? I asked, pretending to be weak. I don't get it. Why was our target for this mission just a single shark? God. Fujiwara Kenji sighed, his voice tinged with frustration. It was an order from Dr. Rosen. That shark's genes hold secrets of an ancient creature and the ability to resist nuclear radiation. If we can just capture it, we'll be able to control the future of the entire ocean. I scoffed internally. Control the future. You lunatics will only drag the whole world down to hell. I stood up and faced Fujiwara Kenji. Since you're so desperate to know what happened down there, then follow me. He didn't suspect a thing. He followed me out of the infirmary and I led him to the ship's rail. Before he could even react, I instantly reverted to my true form, a saw-toothed shark. My massive head slammed into the railing, tearing a huge gash in the side of the destroyer. Seawater poured in like crazy. Fujiwara Kenji stared at me in horror, unable to even scream. The wave I created swept him into the ocean. I opened my massive jaws and chomped down on the armed guards behind him. Their rifles fired at me. But the bullets couldn't even pierce my skin. Ding Host has successfully devoured armed human personnel. Gained 2 evolution points. Ding warning. The 4 remaining destroyers have locked onto the host. Torpedoes have been launched. Please evade immediately. I watched the torpedoes hurtling towards me and instantly triggered my short-range burst of speed. I shot down into the deep sea as the torpedoes exploded behind me. The shockwave hit again, but this time I was ready for it. I used the current's momentum to shoot straight for the bottom of the fleet's hulls. For the next half hour, these waters became my personal hunting ground. The shockwave hit again, but this time I was ready for it. I used the current's momentum to shoot straight for the bottom of the fleet's hulls. For the next half hour, these waters became my personal hunting ground. I used Master of Disguise to become a reef to become an orca. I mimicked anything I could think of, ambushing them again and again. One by one, the destroyers were like paper in front of me, sinking to the bottom. Host has successfully destroyed the Abyss Hunter hunting fleet. Gained 50 evolution points. Ding Master of Disguise skill upgraded to level 3. Can now simulate the form of any object for a duration of 24 hours. Ding Devour skill upgraded to level 2 Devour. Evolution points gained are now doubled. Ding Host level increased to level 10. Body length has grown to 20 meters. Weight 100 tons. The basic genes of the prehistoric Megalodon are now fully unlocked. I looked at the system panel with only one thought in my mind: this is just the beginning. This is for what you owe me, what you owe this ocean, and what you owe all of humanity. I will take it all back, piece by piece. News that the entire Abyss Hunter fleet had been annihilated reached the ears of Dr. Rosen. He stared at the satellite feed. All 5 destroyers sunk in the Pacific Ocean. He trembled with rage, sweeping every instrument off his desk in one violent motion. Useless! A bunch of useless fools. You can't even catch a single shark. The researcher beside him was so scared he didn't dare breathe, asking cautiously, Dr. Rosen, What should we do now? Dr. Rosen took a deep breath. The fanaticism in his eyes grew even wilder. We've stirred the hornet's nest. That shark will definitely leave this area. I want eyes on every global satellite feed, not a single frame. Not a single pixel of anomaly can be missed. The second he shows his face, you tell me immediately. I am going to catch him. But what he didn't know was that I had already left the West Pacific long ago, using Master of Disguise and Deep Sea Stealth. I ate my way from the West Pacific all the way to the Arctic Ocean. In just 3 short days, I had devoured countless deep-sea predators. My body had grown to 21 meters and my weight broke 110 tons. I had become the undisputed apex predator of this ocean. One day I was cruising beneath the floating ice of the Arctic when the system's alert suddenly sounded. Beep! Detecting a pod of orcas, 12 in total. The lead male is 9 meters long. Level 8. Devouring a single one will grant 5 evolution points. Before the system's alert even faded, the orca pod suddenly launched an attack on me. The lead orca rammed into me, the immense force knocking me back dozens of meters. As I recovered from the impact, I recognized him instantly. Blackfin. In my past life, he was the only orca willing to fight by my side. During the final battle at the ED defensive line, he led his pod charging into the alien beast's nest. To cover my escape, he took down a mutated mosasaur over 50 meters long, dying with it. He died right in front of me. Watching him now, I didn't fight back. I could clearly sense that he was wounded. There were also several young orcas in the pod. They didn't see me as prey. They saw me as a threat. They were protecting their children. Just then, the system's red alert sounded once more. Warning: mutated creature detected, flesh mutant orca, body length 12 meters, level 10. Suffering from severe nuclear radiation mutation. It is rapidly approaching the orca pod. Out of the dark water, an orca covered in grotesque fleshy tumors burst forth. Its teeth jutted out, its eyes filled with nothing but bloodthirsty madness. It sank its teeth into the tail fin of a young orca. Blood instantly stained, and the young orca cried out in agony. Blackback's eyes turned red with rage as he turned and charged the mutated orca. But he was no match for the mutant. He was sent flying after just one clash. The orca slammed hard against an ice floe, shattering it on impact. Blackback let out a pained grunt. In my past life, Blackback's pod was completely slaughtered by these mutated orcas. He was the only one left, which is why he fought by my side. In this life, I refused to let that tragedy happen again. With a powerful swing of my tail fin, I triggered my short burst acceleration. My 21-meter-long body shot forward like a torpedo. Just as the mutated orca was about to crush Blackback's skull, I clamped my jaws onto its torso. My sharp teeth instantly pierced through its mutated skin. Sinking deep into its bones, the mutated orca let out a crazed roar. It turned and rammed its head viciously into my stomach, but I refused to let go. No matter how hard it thrashed, I held on tight. I didn't stop until I had torn its torso clean in two. Host has successfully devoured a heavily mutated orca. 20 evolution points gained. Congratulations, Host, a skill lottery has been triggered. Species skill acquired Sonic Shockwave beginner level. Host level increased to 11. Body length increased to 22 meters. I shook the blood from my head. Turning to Blackback, I saw him and his pod slowly swim towards me. They didn't attack. They just gently nudged my body with their snouts. Letting out a series of soft clicks and whistles, he was apologizing to me. He recognized that I had saved him and saved his pod. From that day on, Blackback and his pod of orcas followed me. I finally had a team of my own. In this ocean that was about to become a little, I was no longer fighting alone. 3 days later, while we were patrolling the Arctic Ocean, we suddenly heard the terrified screams of children from the surface. I surfaced with Blackback to see a small wooden boat being overturned by a pod of orcas. Several children of the Arctic indigenous people had fallen into the water. One orca had clamped its jaws on a boy's ankle and was dragging him into the deep. That boy's name was Chiang, son of the chief of the Arctic indigenous tribe. In my past life, after the beast tide erupted, the Arctic became humanity's last refuge. Chiang's tribe took in hundreds of thousands of refugees. In the end, they were besieged by mutated beasts and the entire tribe fought to the last person. Not a single one of them surrendered. I watched as the boy slowly lost consciousness in the water. Memories from my past life flooded back and I shot forward with a powerful swing of my tail. I bit down on the attacking orca, instantly tearing it to shreds. Blackback and his pod rushed forward, surrounding the other hostile orcas. In the blink of an eye, they were all taken care of. I dove underneath Chiang. I used my back to lift him out of the water and brought him to the overturned boat. The other children scrambled to pull Chiang aboard. They looked at my massive body not with fear, but with shock and gratitude. I shifted into my human form and climbed onto the boat. The children were startled, but when they saw me performing first aid on Chiang, they all quieted down. Soon Chiang coughed up several mouthfuls of seawater. I came to just then. A fishing boat slowly approached. The captain was Chiang's uncle Zhang Wei, a Chinese fisherman through and through who'd spent years fishing in the Arctic Ocean. He saw my little wooden boat had capsized and rushed like the wind, pulling us onto his ship. When he found out I'd saved Chiang, Zhang Wei was so thrilled he was practically incoherent, insisting I visit his tribe as a guest. I didn't refuse. I knew that in the coming apocalypse, this tribe would become one of humanity's strongest fortresses. Half a day later, we arrived at the tribe. The chief Arasput, who was also Chang's father, heard that I'd saved his son and walked straight up to me. He gave me a deep bow and said, "Thank you, warrior from the south. You are a benefactor to my family. Please tell me, how can I ever repay you?" I quickly helped him up and said, "It was nothing really. Don't worry about it. Just a place to stay for the night is all I need." Arasput roared with laughter, clapping me on the shoulder. "My home is your home. Stay as long as you like." That night, Arasput held a huge feast in my honor. Everyone from the tribe gathered around, offering their most precious gifts and thanking me over and over. After a few rounds of drinks, I saw one of the tribe's elders sitting by the bonfire, telling a story to the children. The story went that long, long ago. Deep beneath the ocean lay an ancient city called Atlantis. Buried within was the sea god's core, which held the power to control the oceans and drive away all darkness and evil. Only a true guardian of the ocean, one with a kind heart, could find the ancient city and awaken the sea god's power. My heart skipped a beat. In my past life, I'd heard the legend of Atlantis countless times, but never found a single trace of it. But the way the elder told it was so real, he even knew the city's location and described the underwater passage in perfect detail. More importantly, the sea god's core he spoke of was likely the key to fighting the beast tide 2 months from now. In my past life, we gave it our all and could barely hold back the beast tide's assault, with no way to fight back. But if the sea god's core was real, then this time we could not only hold the line, but completely wipe out these mutations, stopping the apocalypse before it even began. Back in my room, the elder's words kept replaying in my mind. I couldn't sit still. I had to go see for myself. I had to find Atlantis and find the sea god's core. The next morning, I said goodbye to the tribe and went to a remote part of the sea. In an instant, I transformed back into my true Megalodon form, taking Blackfin and the killer whale pod with me, and dove deep towards the area the elder had described. We searched the ocean floor for 6 whole hours, but found nothing. Just as I was losing hope and about to give up, Blackfin suddenly let out a sharp cry, pointing his snout towards a spot on the seabed. I rushed over and discovered a bottomless underwater passage in the rock face. The walls of the passage were carved with countless ancient markings, exactly like the elder described in his story. At the end of the passage, it had to be the legendary Atlantis. I didn't hesitate for a second. I took Blackback and dove straight into the passage. Inside, it was pitch black. The water pressure grew stronger and stronger. Even I could feel the crushing force. After a full hour, the scene before me suddenly opened up. A massive underwater city appeared right before my eyes. The entire city was forged from solid gold, giant palaces, towering statues, and perfectly preserved streets. It glowed with a soft golden light in the deep sea even after slumbering for millions of years. You could still see its former glory. Atlantis. It was real. I led Blackback and slowly swam into the ancient city. But just as I was marveling at its magnificence, a deafening roar echoed from the city's deepest chamber. The very water around me trembled violently. Warning, top-tier mutated creature detected. Death Leviathan, length 50 meters, level 20, ultimate nuclear radiation mutant. Devouring it grants 100 evolution points with a 20% chance of acquiring the species' skill high-intensity defense. The voice hadn't even faded when a colossal beast charged out of the darkness. Its body was as massive as a mountain covered in scales like steel plates. Its mouth was filled with teeth like spears, and a pair of blood-red eyes were locked onto me. Glowing with a bloodthirsty light, the Death Leviathan, one of the apex predators from the mutant beast nest in my past life. This was the one that led the beasts to shatter the first gate of the East Sea defensive line. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers died at its hands. I fought it for 3 days and 3 nights, barely managing to drive it back. I nearly died myself. It opened its massive jaws and charged straight at me. The stench of death washed over me in the current from its enormous body. Pinned me in place. I instantly triggered my flash acceleration. I narrowly dodged its fatal bite, turned, and swam behind it. I tore a chunk of flesh from its body. The immense pain of the wound made the Leviathan let out a furious roar as it spun around violently. Its massive tail slammed into me and I felt like I'd been hit by a cannonball. I was thrown hard against the wall of the Golden Palace, which shattered on impact. A mouthful of blood sprayed from my lips. Seeing me injured, Blackback led the pod of orcas to charge, frantically attacking the Leviathan. But their attacks just bounced off the Leviathan's scales, not even leaving a scratch. The Leviathan simply flicked its tail, sending Blackback flying. The orca pod suffered heavy casualties in an instant. Just as I was about to charge in again, another deafening roar echoed. A second, even larger death Leviathan swam out from the depths of the city. This one was a full 60 meters long, and it was level 22. The injured female Leviathan nuzzled affectionately against the male, letting out a pitiful whimper. My heart sank. You've got to be kidding me. I fight one and its partner shows up. Talk about unfair. Now I'm getting ganged up on by a couple. The two death Leviathans charged at me together. Their attacks were perfectly in sync. I had no room to dodge. In just the first exchange, the male slammed me into the seabed. The colossal force made the entire ocean floor tremble. Excruciating pain shot through my entire body. I feel several of my bones break. On the brink of death, memories from my past life. It all comes flooding back to me like a tidal wave. The desperate screams of civilians as the East Sea defensive line collapsed. The final salutes from my comrades as they hit their self-destruct buttons as the Blackbacks sacrificed themselves to take the Xenobeasts with them. The way General Zhao Yingquan looked back at me one last time, as he and the Xenobeast nest were swallowed by a nuclear blast, his back ramrod straight. And then there were all the people I failed to protect. The ones who died so horribly in the apocalypse. The ones swallowed by darkness, who would never see the light again. In my past life, I fought with everything I had, but I still couldn't save them. Now I've been reborn into this life. How could I possibly fall here? A power unlike anything I've ever felt erupts from deep within me. I watch two Leviathans charging at me, and with a single thought, the Master of Disguise ability activates. My body twists and contorts rapidly in the water. In a flash, I take on the form identical to the female Leviathan. The two charging Leviathans instantly freeze in place. They can't tell which one of us is the real one. Seizing the opportunity, I swim rapidly towards the female Leviathan. Before it can even react, I open my massive jaws and clamp down hard on its gills. This is its deadliest weak spot. I use every ounce of my strength. My teeth tear through its artery and blood instantly stains the waters of the ancient city of Atlantis. The female Leviathan lets out a despairing cry, its body thrashing violently a few times. Before finally going still, Dinghost has successfully devoured the female Reaper Leviathan. Evolution points gained 100. Host level up, level 15. Body length increased to 26 meters. The male Leviathan, watching its mate die right in front of it, is sent into a complete frenzy. It lets out a deafening roar and the waters of the entire ancient city churn in response. It charges wildly towards me, shattering the golden architecture in its path. Absolutely nothing can stand in its way. I don't engage it head on. Instead, I turn and swim at full speed toward the statue of the sea god in the city's center. The statue is a full 100 meters tall, depicting the sea god Poseidon trident in hand. The entire thing is carved from a single massive piece of obsidian. It's incredibly durable. The male Leviathan is in hot pursuit right behind me. Its blood-red eyes are filled with nothing but murder, completely oblivious to the statue looming ahead. The instant before it slams into me, I swerve to the side and trigger a short-range burst of speed. I dodge its attack in a flash, but the male Leviathan, lost in its rage, has too much momentum to stop. Its entire body crashes violently into the Poseidon statue. With a deafening crash, the 100-meter-tall obsidian statue comes crumbling down. Countless massive chunks of rock rain down, instantly burying the male Leviathan beneath them. It lets out a few roars of defiance, struggles for a moment, and then falls silent. Dinghost has successfully killed the male Reaper Leviathan. Evolution points gained 150. Congratulations, host. Skill extraction triggered. Species skill acquired, high-intensity defense. At its ultimate level, it reduces all incoming physical and energy damage by 50%. Dinghost level up, level 18. Body length increased to 30 meters. Weight 180 tons, fully unlocking the ultimate prehistoric Megalodon. Bird gene sequence. I look at my system panel and let out a long sigh of relief. My whole body is screaming in pain from my wounds, but I feel an incredible sense of exhilaration. The Reaper Leviathans that killed countless of my comrades in my past life, this time, was slain by me in the ancient city of Atlantis. Species prehistoric Megalodon, level 18. Length 30 meters, weight 180 tons, skills Devour level 2, mid-level short-range acceleration camouflage master level 3, mid-level deep-sea navigation radiation immunity, ultimate sonic shockwave, ultimate high-strength defense. The full-scale invasion of the ultimate hyper-strong mutated creatures begins in 29 days. Seeing that last line of blood-red text on my status panel, my resolve hardened in an instant. 29 days until the beast tide erupts. Time is running out. I have to get back immediately and complete the first objective of my new life. Hand myself over to the state. With Little Red and Black Bay, I left the ancient city of Atlantis. I headed full speed towards the East China Sea. With the boost from my deep-sea navigation skill, it only took us 3 days to cross half the globe and reach the waters of the East China Sea. Meanwhile, my previous actions had already sent massive shockwaves across China. General Zhao Yingquan had taken the warning I sent along with all the data on nuclear radiation mutations and reported everything to the state. The government took it with the utmost seriousness, immediately activating the highest level of emergency response. Coastal defenses were fully upgraded and a nationwide disaster preparedness plan was put into action. The entire nation was preparing for the catastrophe coming in 2 months. General Zhao Yingquan himself was stationed at the East China Sea research base, leading the nation's most elite team. They were monitoring all activity in the East China Sea 24/7, and they had been looking for me the whole time. They knew I was the only one who could foresee the disaster and had the power to fight the mutated beasts. With Little Red and Black Bay, I revealed myself to the East China Sea expedition team. My massive shadow fell across the ocean surface. Everyone on the research vessel tensed up instantly. General Zhao Yingquan walked to the bow of the ship. As he watched me slowly approach, his eyes filled with utter astonishment. Every researcher and every soldier on board gave me a crisp military salute. That very day, the highest national directive was issued: initiate Project Sea God. The entire nation's resources would be mobilized to provide me with everything I needed. Overnight, a nationwide feeding campaign began, supported by all 1.4 billion people. The nation's fisheries, deep-sea aquaculture farms, and high-protein feed processing plants all went into overdrive. Countless fishing vessels and research ships set out for designated feeding points in the East China Sea, carrying the highest quality food. Netizens across the country followed my every move online each day. They cheered me on, and the hashtag nationwide feeding of the sea god Megalodon dominated the top of the trending charts for a solid week. And eat up, killer god. You've got to get big and strong so you can wreck those beasts in 2 months. My family owns a fish farm. All our fish are for the killer god. We'll make sure he has more than enough. In your past life, you died fighting for us. In this life, all 1.4 billion of us in China will raise you. Every day, tens of thousands of tons of high-quality food were funneled into my mouth. My evolution speed skyrocketed. System alert host has successfully consumed top-grade high-protein feed. Gained 10 evolution points. System alert host has reached level 19 by length has increased to 32 meters. System alert host has successfully consumed a deep-sea krill swarm. Gained 20 evolution points. The Devour skill has been upgraded to level 3. Evolution point gain has been tripled. System alert host has reached level 20. Length has increased to 35 meters. Unlocked ultimate skill Sea God's Roar. Sea God's Roar unleashes the ultimate sonic wave of a prehistoric megalodon. It can intimidate all sea creatures of a lower level. It deals massive psychic damage to mutated beasts, but is completely harmless to non-mutated creatures. This skill was practically tailor-made for the upcoming beast tide. In my past life, our biggest problem was the endless swarm of low-level mutant beasts. And now a single blast from Poseidon's roar can instantly clear the field. More importantly, I discovered something. My Devour system doesn't just let me evolve, it can also convert surplus evolution points into an anti-radiation gene serum. This serum can boost a human's immunity to nuclear radiation by hundreds of times. They'll no longer suffer from radiation-induced genetic diseases, stopping human mutation at its source. I gave all the gene serum I created to General Zhao Yingquan. The country immediately launched a nationwide inoculation program. In just half a month, all 1.4 billion citizens had been treated. The tragedy from my past life, where 99% of humanity was wiped out, was averted at its very root. But just as we were gearing up for war, the unexpected happened. Dr. Rosen and the Abyss Hunter group hadn't given up. When they learned I had turned over the serum to the state and gained the full support of China, they went completely insane. They gathered every illegal armed force on the planet. Dozens of top-tier battleships plus the ultimate mutant they'd been secretly cultivating for decades. A genetically mutated azure dragon over 80 meters long. They charged toward the East China Sea with overwhelming force. They wanted to destroy me and destroy the gene serum. To destroy humanity's last hope, they wanted to turn the entire world into their personal laboratory. A red alert blared across the entire East Sea defensive line. General Zhao Yingquan stood in the command room watching the satellite feed. His eyes were filled with resolve. He picked up the communicator, ordered all forces on the line, all units enter level 1 combat readiness. Defend the EC line to the death. Do not let the enemy advance a single step. Say it. Meanwhile, I led Little Red Blackback and my Flame Crystal Beast pack, now over 100 strong, and swam to the very front of the EC defensive line. My 35-meter body was like a mountain. Range stretched across the surface of the water. Behind me were 1.4 billion of my fellow people. This was the home I would protect with my life. In my past life, I died here. In this life, I will make sure every enemy that comes here never leaves. Dr. Rosen's fleet reached the edge of the East Sea. He stood in the command room of his flagship and burst into insane laughter as he watched me on the screen. Sawtooth Shark, I'm giving you one last chance to surrender. Come with me or I will turn the entire EC into an ocean of blood. I ignored his ranting and just slowly opened my massive jaws. I let out a deafening Poseidon's roar and an invisible shockwave blasted forward. All the experimental mutants in the enemy fleet instantly shrieked in agony. They all dropped dead in an instant, staining the sea red with their blood. Dr. Rosen's face went deathly pale. He never expected that I possessed such terrifying power. He shrieked hysterically, "Fire! Everyone open fire, kill him and release the ultimate Azure Dragon. I want him torn to shreds." Countless shells and torpedoes came hurtling toward me. Behind me, the EC defensive line instantly activated all of its anti-air and anti-missile systems. Interceptor missiles launched like a downpour, blasting every last shell and torpedo out of the sky. From beneath the waves, a deafening roar erupted. The 80-meter-long ultimate Mecha Mosasaur burst from the deep sea. His body was covered in thick alloy armor, his teeth as sharp as missiles. A pair of blood-red eyes locked onto me as he charged forward in a frenzy. He is Dr. Rosen's ultimate weapon. In my past life, he was the one who shattered my body with a single bite. And now I faced the charging Mecha Mosasaur head-on. I activated my short-range burst and slammed right into him. Boom! The two behemoths collided violently. The entire ocean surface erupted into monstrous waves. The Mosasaur's power was far greater than I'd imagined. He sank his teeth viciously into my shoulder, his sharp fangs piercing my skin. Blood instantly clouded the water, but I felt no fear. My high-strength defense activated instantly. His teeth couldn't scratch my bones. I whipped around and clamped my jaws onto the nape of his neck. Activating my Devour skill at full power, I began to furiously absorb his strength. The Mosasaur let out a pained roar, slamming its massive tail against my body. He threw me off violently and flew into a complete rage. He charged at me again, the water boiling in his wake from the sheer force of his power. I watched the Mosasaur charge my eyes, showing not a trace of fear. In my past life, I couldn't beat him, but in this life, I have 1.4 billion of my people as my backup. I have the experience gained from countless rebirths, and I have something I must protect. With a single thought, I instantly triggered Master of Disguise. I transformed into an identical Mecha Mosasaur and charged right at him. He froze on the spot, completely unable to tell which one was the real him. In that moment of hesitation, I suddenly reverted to my Megalodon form. Short-range burst and Poseidon's roar activated simultaneously. The sonic wave slammed into his consciousness, paralyzing him in place. I opened my saw-like jaws and clamped down hard on his skull. With every ounce of my strength, I bit down. Crunch! I crushed his reinforced skull. Foul-smelling brains and blood exploded into the water. This was the ultimate Mecha Mosasaur that had driven the entire EC defensive line to despair in my past life. Before me, he couldn't even put up a final struggle. His massive body slammed heavily onto the seabed. All signs of life gone. Ding Host has successfully devoured the ultimate Mecha Mosasaur. Acquired 1,000 evolution points. Ding detected that Host has unlocked the ultimate form. System functions undergoing a full upgrade. Ocean Alliance module unlocked. Can now command all mutated marine life in coordinated attacks. Gene purification function unlocked. Can purge nuclear radiation and mecha mutation factors from living organisms. The system notifications exploded one after another in my mind. The thrill of my surging power washed over my entire body like a tsunami. I shook the blood and gore from my head, my 50-meter-long body swaying gently in the water. The entire ocean surface stirred, creating waves several meters high. In my past life, I was torn to shreds by this very Mosasaur in the middle of the EC without even a complete corpse left behind. But in this life in front of 1.4 billion of my people, I shredded him to pieces. In the command room of the flagship, Dr. Rosen watched the screen, saw the image of me crushing the Mosasaur's skull. It was as if his very soul had been ripped out. He collapsed into his chair, eyes wide with disbelief. He kept muttering, "Impossible, this is absolutely impossible." He just couldn't understand how the creation he'd spent decades of painstaking effort on, nurtured with countless irradiated test subjects and fused with the genes of dozens of apex predators. His ultimate Azure Dragon couldn't even last 10 rounds against me. It had been completely obliterated, but he didn't have time for a breakdown. Blackback, leading a battle formation of over 100 orcas, had already slammed hard into the flagship's hull. Every single orca was like an elite warrior precisely attacking the ship's engine room and propellers. Little Red had also shed his usual weakness. Having awakened his Reaper Leviathan bloodline, his body had grown to 20 meters long. His thick tentacles lashed violently against the ship's steel plates. The thick armor was torn apart like paper as water flooded madly into the cabins. Abandon ship now!" Dr. Rosen shrieked hysterically. Shielded by his bodyguards, he stumbled and scrambled toward a lifeboat. He knew it in his heart. The fleet was gone. The Azure Dragon was gone. He had no cards left to play. The only thing left to do was run as far away as possible. But he forgot, this ocean is my home turf. Just as the lifeboat he was on pulled away from the flagship, before it had even gone 100 meters, my enormous shadow appeared beneath it. With a gentle flick of my tail fin, the lifeboat was thrown into the air by the resulting wave, only to slam back down onto the sea. Dr. Rosen and his bodyguards, like drowned rats, were thrown from the boat into the freezing water. When he looked up and saw my massive body blocking out the sun, my pair of cold vertical pupils staring daggers at him, this madman who had spent his entire life performing cruel experiments on marine life finally understood the meaning of absolute terror. He flailed his limbs like a madman trying to swim away, screaming, "Don't kill me, I know I was wrong. I'll give you all my research data, I can help you fight the mutant beast tide." I watched his pathetic display without a ripple of emotion. In my past life, it was his research that turned countless sea creatures into bloodthirsty mutant beasts, causing 99% of humanity to die horribly in the apocalypse. In my past life, it was he who leaked the defense layout of the East Sea defensive line, allowing the mutant beast tide to tear through our defenses with precision. Countless comrades died with grievances. This blood debt that could hardly be canceled out by a simple, "I was wrong." I opened my giant maw and unleashed a max-level sonic shockwave at him. The invisible sound wave, like a sledgehammer, slammed viciously into his mind. He instantly let out a piercing scream. Bleeding from his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, his body frozen stiff in the water, unable to move. Then with another gentle flick of my tail fin, a current swept him towards the research vessel. Xiaoying and General Quan were already waiting there with their soldiers. Several Special Ops soldiers quickly jumped into the sea, hauled the unconscious Dr. Rosen onto the ship, and slapped handcuffs on him. The culprit who threw the world into chaos and single-handedly brought about the apocalypse was finally caught. He would now face the judgment of all humankind, the retribution he deserved. Host has successfully captured the mastermind Dr. Rosen, completely destroyed the Abyss Hunters' global illegal armed forces, gained 500 evolution points. Congratulations, Host, for completing Ultimate Achievement Ocean Purifier. Gained maximum reputation with all non-mutated ocean life. With the Oceanic Alliance module maxed out, a deafening cheer erupted across the entire East Sea. On the research vessel, General Zhao Yingquan, along with all the soldiers and researchers, once again gave me the most perfect military salute. "Sea God, we won the first battle. Shark God is a freaking beast. The whole nation will feed you. Just say the word and we'll get you anything you want to eat." The number of viewers in the livestream had already broken 1 billion. The entire world was watching this epic battle. The live comments flooded the screen like a tidal wave. Holy crap! Is this the true power of a prehistoric megalodon? He took down an 80-meter mosasaur in a single bite. This is so hype. Shark God not only saved us, he captured the mastermind behind it all. I never believed in a sea god before, but I do now. This is the god of the ocean. I looked at the cheering crowds on the coastline, at all those vibrant faces filled with hope, and a warmth spread through my heart. In my past life, this place was a battlefield littered with corpses, a hopeless hell. But in this life, it's filled with laughter and joy, full of the warmth of humanity. This is the meaning of my rebirth. But just as everyone was basking in the joy of their victory, the system's red alert suddenly started blaring inside my head. The piercing sound made every single scale on my body instantly tighten. Beep, highest level warning. Abnormal spike in nuclear radiation detected across all global oceans. Levels have exceeded the critical threshold by 1,000 times. Beep, highest level warning. Mass-scale mutation detected in deep seas worldwide. Over 1 million kaiju have hatched. Average level is 10 or higher. Beep, highest level warning. The full-scale kaiju tide has been moved up. Time remaining 24 hours. Unknown top-tier psychic energy wave detected. Source the deepest part of the Mariana Trench. Power level is far beyond current comprehension. Threat level, contempt. My heart sank. Something's wrong. Even with all the nuclear wastewater that had been discharged, there's no way it could cause the global radiation levels to skyrocket this much in just a few hours. And it's even more impossible for a million kaiju to hatch all at once. Dr. Lawson had already been captured and the Abyss Hunters had been completely wiped out. Who the hell was pulling the strings from behind the scenes? I immediately used Morse code to relay all of the system's wings to General Zhao Yingquan. The smile on his face vanished instantly, replaced by an incredibly grim expression. He immediately grabbed his communicator and addressed the entire National Defense Line, issuing the highest level red combat alert. All units listen up, the kaiju tide is coming early. Global arrival in 24 hours. All coastal defense lines are to enter the highest state of combat readiness immediately. I repeat, enter the highest state of combat readiness now. The entire country mobilized in an instant. The coastal defense gates all slammed shut, all anti-air and anti-missile systems powered on. Inland shelters were open to the public and the entire population went on a war footing. In my past life, we faced the kaiju tide in a panic completely unprepared. But this time we were prepared. We were ready for them. But I knew in my heart this time it wouldn't be that simple. That unknown psychic energy wave from the Mariana Trench? It felt 100 times more terrifying than both of the Grim Reaper Leviathans combined. So terrifying, in fact, that it sent a bone-chilling cold through my body, even though I've already unlocked my ultimate sea god form. There has to be a huge conspiracy here, a plot twist that none of us have seen coming. That night, I handed over command of the East Sea defensive line to Haibei and Xiaohong, letting them take the orcapods and the marine allies to guard the mouth of the East Sea with orders to kill any mutant beast on sight. As for me, I activated my max-level deep-sea stealth and started swimming at full speed toward the Mariana Trench. I had to see for myself what the hell was hiding behind all this. In my past life, after the mutant beast horde was unleashed, the Mariana Trench became the nest for all the top mutant beasts. We tried to wipe them out countless times, paying a heavy price for each attempt, yet we never even found out what was truly inside. This time I'm going to uncover that secret ahead of schedule, and snuff this world-ending crisis out in its cradle. With my max-level deep-sea stealth active, my speed was pushed to the absolute limit so fast that I even left a white wake across the surface of the ocean, crossing the entire Pacific. It took me less than half a day to arrive above the Mariana Trench. This place is known as the deepest part of the Earth, with its lowest point over 11,000 meters down. The water pressure is enough to crush a tank into a pancake, and sunlight can never reach this place. It's a realm of eternal darkness and silence, but now this supposedly silent trench was emitting the sickening stench of nuclear radiation, and the roars of countless mutant beasts echoed up from its deepest depths, making the very water around me tremble. I slowly began my descent. My max-level Master of Disguise skill activated, and I disguised my body to look just like a piece of the seabed reef, concealing my presence completely as I crept deeper and deeper into the trench. The further down I went, the more horrified I became. The walls of the trench were covered in a dense carpet of mutant beast eggs. Each one was the size of a bucket, and inside a fully formed mutant beast was curled up, writhing slightly with the current ready to hatch at any moment. The number of these eggs far exceeded the millions the system had detected. There could have been more than 10 million. And surrounding these eggs were thick metal pipes, their ends connected to secret laboratories hidden within the rock walls. These pipes were continuously pumping thick black nuclear water into the trench, along with a liquid that glowed with an eerie purple light. It was this liquid that amplified the power of the nuclear radiation by over 1,000 times, accelerating the incubation of these mutant eggs. A storm of shock crashed over me. The Sakura Nation's nuclear wastewater discharge was never just about disposing of waste. That was just a cover story. The real nuclear wastewater was all being secretly pumped into the Mariana Trench used to incubate these mutant beasts. And Dr. Rosen, he was never the mastermind. He was just a pawn pushed to the front. The real puppet master was someone else entirely. Just then, the sound of a familiar conversation came from the nearest laboratory. I slowly moved closer along the rock wall and peered through the lab's observation window, getting a clear look at the people inside. The one in the lead was none other than Dr. Rosen, who was supposed to have been captured by us at the EC front. No, wait, this Dr. Rosen was slightly different from the one I caught. The madness in his eyes was gone, replaced by a cold, inhuman indifference, and his body was undergoing a grotesque transformation. Blue veins bulged beneath his skin, writhing like tentacles, and standing beside him were all the top executives of the Abyss Hunter Group, the same ones we thought had gone down with the fleet. The ones who were captured, they were all here. Each one was like a walking corpse, their eyes completely vacant, their bodies twisting with various degrees of mutation. It doesn't matter if our main bodies were captured, our plan has already succeeded. That was Dr. Rosen speaking. His voice was hoarse and bizarre. Nothing like a sound a human could make. The energy of Poseidon's core has been contaminated by our radiation. The suppressed core of Atlantis is gone. In another 24 hours, trillions of beast eggs will hatch simultaneously. The entire blue star will be ours for the taking. My lord, what if that Megalodon comes to interfere? One of the executives asked cautiously. The Megalodon. Dr. Rosen let out a strange laugh. He's just an ant who got lucky and was reborn. In his past life, he never even saw our faces before he died in the jaws of the Azure Dragon. Even if he unlocks his ultimate form in this life before the great sea god, he's nothing more than a snack to be devoured in a single bite. The sea god. My heart lurched. Who was this sea god he was talking about just then? The large screen in the lab suddenly lit up, showing a figure floating in a deep sea trench. A massive dark shadow in the deepest part. The shadow was over 300 meters long. Its entire body was covered in dark gold scales and countless tentacles stretched out like mountain ranges. A pair of enormous golden vertical pupils stared intently in the direction of the camera. But what really made my skin crawl was that this shadow's silhouette was identical to the statue of the sea god Poseidon in the ancient city of Atlantis. Exactly the same. Congratulations, Lord Sea God, on breaking your seal and returning to the world. Everyone in the lab, including Dr. Rosen, knelt down before the shadow on the screen, their expressions filled with manic fervor. The blood in my veins instantly ran cold. A twist, a massive twist. We had always thought the beast tide was just an accident caused by nuclear wastewater discharge. But I never imagined that from the very beginning this was a conspiracy millions of years in the making. The legends of Atlantis were actually true millions of years ago. There really was a sea god who controlled the entire ocean, but he wasn't some guardian. He was a tyrant who wanted to rule the entire blue star. Ancient humans paid a terrible price. I earned to use the power of Poseidon's core to seal him in the deepest part of the Mariana Trench. They also built the ancient city of Atlantis to suppress his seal. And nuclear radiation was the one thing that could contaminate Poseidon's core and break that seal. For millions of years, he had been waiting for an opportunity. And when humanity started discharging nuclear wastewater, he finally got it. He used his psychic powers to control Dr. Rosen and the Abyss Hunter Group, making them frantically discharge nuclear waste to speed up the seal's collapse, while simultaneously hatching mutant beasts to create an army for his return to the world. We never knew in our past lives, right up until our deaths, that behind the beast tide was a world-ending terror of this magnitude. The things we fought with all our might were nothing but pawns he casually unleashed, and that's why, in my past life, 99% of humanity was wiped out in just 1 month. Because what we were facing, this wasn't some accident, it was a meticulously planned extinction. Just as the shock hit me, the massive shadow on the screen suddenly moved. Its golden reptilian eyes snapped in my direction. An icy voice pierced right through the laboratory walls and into my mind. A little reborn shark. You dare show up at my doorstep since you're here. You're not leaving. A terrifying wave of psychic energy crashed down on me like a tsunami. My master of disguise skill was instantly shattered. The force slammed to the cavern wall, which instantly fractured. I coughed up a mouthful of blood, and the people in the lab immediately snapped to attention. That Dr. Lawson whipped his head up and saw me outside the cavern wall. He let out a piercing shriek. "Get him! Kill him!" Instantly, countless alarms blared throughout the trench. Mutated beasts poured out from the crevices in the rock, swarming me like a tidal wave. Leading the charge were 5 death leviathans, each over 50 meters long, followed by a dozen mega mosasaurs over 40 meters long. Every single one of them was level 25 or higher. Warning host is surrounded by a swarm of over 1 million beasts. Highest enemy combatant is level 30 or above. Please retreat immediately. Warning host is under attack by an unknown top-tier psychic force. The body of the sea god has sustained damage. Self-regeneration decreased by 50%. I knew it. Fighting them head-on now would be suicide. This sealed sea god. Even while contained, its power is far beyond anything I could have imagined. And with this million-strong horde of beasts, I don't stand a chance. I have to live to fight another day. I need to get out of here now. I have to get back to the East Sea and figure out how to handle this world-ending crisis. I unleashed my max-level skill instant acceleration. My 50-meter body shot forward like a torpedo right at an oncoming death. Leviathan. I opened my massive jaws and chomped down hard. Crunch. I crushed its skull in a single bite, drenching myself in its boiling blood. Host has successfully devoured the death Leviathan, gained 100 evolution points. I used the momentum to rocket toward the surface. I unleashed Sea God's roar at full power. A deafening sonic wave ripped through the water. The brains of the low-level beasts swarming me instantly liquefied. They all plummeted to the ocean floor, but there were just too many of them. They kept coming in an endless tide, desperately trying to hold me down, to keep me from escaping. A Megamosasaur sank its teeth into my tail fin, its sharp fangs piercing my scales. Agony shot through my entire body. I whipped around and bit down hard on its torso. I unleashed my Devour skill at full power, instantly sucking it dry until it was nothing but an empty husk. Ding Host has successfully devoured the Megamosasaur, gained 80 evolution points. Ding Devour skill triggered a critical hit. Evolution points doubled. My self-regeneration was restored as the body of the sea god's passive ability kicked in. The wounds on my body began to heal at a visible rate. I glared at the surrounding horde, a ruthless glint in my eyes. You want to stop me? Let's see if you've got the teeth for it. I tore a path straight through them, rushing madly for the surface. The beast's in my way now, whether it's a Leviathan or an Azure Dragon. I tore every single one of them to shreds, bite by bite, unleashing my max-level skills at full power. The entire Mariana Trench became my personal hunting ground. Host has successfully devoured. Giant Squid gained 20 evolution points. Host has successfully devoured. A pot of orcas gained 100 evolution points. Host level increased to 31. Body length has grown to 52 meters. Host level increased to 32. Body length has grown to 55 meters. I fought my way through everything. I carved a bloody path straight through a horde of a million beasts. The moment I finally broke through the surface and saw the sunlight, I was covered head to toe in the blood of like a war god who had fought his way out of hell. I didn't stop for a second, pushing forward through the deep sea. I set off at full speed, racing frantically toward China's East Sea. I had to get back as soon as possible and tell General Zhao Yingquan about this world-shattering conspiracy. I had to find a way to deal with this. Otherwise, the tragedy of my past life wouldn't just repeat itself. It would become far more brutal. A day later, I finally returned to the waters of the East Sea. The moment I appeared at the East Sea defense line, everyone was completely stunned. My 55-meter-long body was covered in the scars of battle. Even though they had healed, you could still see how ferocious the fighting had been. When Haibei and Xiaohong saw I was back, they immediately led their orca pod to surround me. They affectionately nuzzled my body with their snouts, letting out worried, low-pitched cries. I immediately found General Zhao Yingquan's research vessel and, using Morse code, told him everything I had discovered in the Mariana Trench about the sealed ancient sea god and this world-ending conspiracy that had been planned for tens of millions of years. I told him every single word. After listening, General Zhao Yingquan's face went deathly pale. The teacup in his hand slammed down on the table and his entire body trembled. He had studied the ocean his whole life, but he never imagined that such a horrifying truth was hidden behind it all. All the preparations we had made before, against that 300-meter-long ancient sea god, they wouldn't stand a chance. General, what do we do now? Xia Yu, standing beside him, asked with a tremor in his voice, holding the images sent back from the deep-sea probe. Massive beast tides had already appeared in every ocean across the globe. The coastal defense lines have already started engaging the enemy. General Zhao Yingquan took a deep breath and his eyes filled with resolve once more. He looked at me and gave me another military salute. Sea God, our China has never bowed its head to any disaster. We lost in our past life, but in this one we have you. Even if our opponent is a god, we will dare to fight. His words ignited the fighting spirit in everyone like a roaring flame. That's right, so what if the opponent is an ancient sea god? In my past life, I was all alone, yet I dared to fight the beast tide to the bitter end. In this life, I have partners fighting by my side and 1.4 billion countrymen as my backup. What do I have to fear just then? The system's notification tone suddenly rang in my mind. Host has encountered a world-ending crisis, triggering ultimate hidden mission, the Sea God Legacy. Mission objective: travel to the ancient city of Atlantis and acquire the true Sea God's core. Inherit the legacy of the ancient guardian of the ocean and defeat the corrupted fallen sea god. Purify the oceans and protect Langson. The mission reward: unlocking the ultimate form of the sea god. All skills will be divinely enhanced and I will gain permanent control over the oceans. The penalty for failure: Langston will be completely lost and all life will be extinguished. My heart pounded. It turns out there was another half to the legend. The truth is, tens of millions of years ago, there wasn't just one fallen sea god. There was also a true guardian of the ocean, the real master of Atlantis. He and the fallen sea god destroyed each other, sealing his own power within the sea god's core. He was waiting for a true successor to appear and prevent the fallen sea god's revival. And I am that chosen successor. Without a moment's hesitation, I accepted the mission. This was my only chance. It was also the only chance for all of Langston. That same day, I told General Zhao Yingquan the plan. He immediately promised to gather the nation's full strength to buy me time. After learning the truth about the impending apocalypse, every country around the globe also pledged their full cooperation. They would use all their military might to hold back the beast tide, all to get me to Atlantis. To buy me precious time, Suwon led the medical teams, already fully prepared to handle any potential casualties at a moment's notice. Xiaoyu led the deep-sea exploration team, charting the optimal route to Atlantis for me. They would provide satellite navigation and deep-sea sonar support the entire way. Xiaohu led the fleet of fishing boats for me and the allied ocean forces, preparing more than enough food and supplies. All of them. All the people who had sacrificed themselves to protect humanity. In this life, they all stood by my side, fighting with me. I was no longer fighting alone. Early the next morning, war erupted across the global defense line. Tens of millions of mutated beasts swarmed from every ocean on the planet, launching a frenzied assault on the coastal defenses. The sounds of cannons, roars, and shouts echoed across the entire planet. Humanity's armies held the front line, refusing to give a single inch. Haibai led the orcapods and Xiaohong led the deep-sea behemoths who had awakened their Leviathan bloodline, racing to reinforce battlefronts in every sea. They engaged the beast tide in a fight to the death. As for me, the moment the war began, I activated deep-sea stealth and once again headed for the ancient city of Atlantis. I raced forward. I had to get the sea god's core as fast as possible. I had to inherit the legacy. Every second I wasted meant more people would die in the jaws of those beasts. This time I held nothing back. With my short-range acceleration maxed out, I kept it active the entire way. I was moving so fast I was practically tearing a vacuum tunnel through the water. A journey that should have taken 3 days I completed in less than 10 hours. I had reached the ancient city of Atlantis once more, but the sight before me filled me with blinding rage. The once magnificent golden city of Atlantis was now corrupted by a black radiation. The golden buildings were now mottled and ruined, and the city was teeming with grotesque mutated beasts. The entire city was shrouded in the fallen sea god's psychic energy, radiating an air of suffocating despair. The sea god's core was inside the sea god's palace, right in the center of the ancient city. But to get to it, I would have to cross the entire city and break through wave after wave of beasts. But I didn't flinch. I opened my massive jaws. I let out a deafening sea god's roar, and the mutated beasts that swarmed me were instantly blasted to smithereens. I charged forward, plowing a path straight toward the palace in the center of the ancient city. No matter their level, any beast that stood in my way was torn to shreds in a single bite. My devour ability was at full power. With every beast I devoured, my strength grew, and my level increased. Ding the host has successfully devoured a mutant leviathan, gaining 120 evolution points. Ding host level increased to 35. Body length has grown to 60 meters. Ding god tier high defense skill unlocked. Reduces all damage by 90%. Ding the host has successfully devoured Mecha Dragon Swarm, gaining 500 evolution points. Host level increased to 38. Body length has grown to 70 meters. Fighting all the way, I carved a bloody path straight through the horde of beasts. I finally reached the gates of the sea god's palace. The doors of this ancient palace, millions of years old, were sealed shut. Countless ancient runes were carved upon them, emitting a faint golden light. Resisting the radiation, I gently touched the palace doors with my snout. Instantly, all the runes on the doors lit up and a gentle golden light enveloped my entire body. In my mind, an ancient and gentle voice echoed, "Successor, after millions of years, I have finally found you. Finally, someone is willing to step forward to protect this ocean." Before the voice even faded, the palace doors slowly creaked open. I swam into the palace, propelled by my tail fin. In the very center of the palace, a fist-sized golden crystal floated, radiating a warm and immense power. Like a sun in the ocean, this was the true sea god's core. Just as I extended my snout about to touch the sea god's core, a terrifying black energy suddenly smashed down from the palace ceiling. It slammed violently into me. It felt like I'd been hit by a mountain. I was smashed hard onto the palace floor and a mouthful of blood sprayed out. A colossal dark shadow slowly emerged from the palace's darkness. It was the fallen sea god. He had actually broken the seal. He had come to Atlantis early. You puny insect, you dare to covet the power of the sea god. He let out a deafening roar, his 300-meter-long body filling the entire palace. Countless tentacles whipped toward me. You couldn't stop me in your last life. And you won't in this one either. The tentacles lashed violently against my body. Even with my maxed out high defense, my scales were instantly cracked open. Wounds so deep you could see the bone appeared on my body and agonizing pain shot through me. His power was just too immense. Even though he hadn't fully recovered, his strength was not something I could contend with right now. He snatched me up. Countless tentacles wrapped tightly around my body, squeezing harder and harder. I heard the sound of my bones groaning under the pressure, and a feeling of suffocation instantly washed over me. You think being reborn would let you change anything? How naive! His voice was dripping with contempt. Everything you've done is nothing but a dance within my grand plan. You killed my wife, you increased your power? But in the end, you've only delivered a perfect sacrifice to me. Once I devour this ultimate body of a prehistoric megalodon and absorb the sea god's core, this entire planet will grovel at my feet. Humanity will be nothing more than my livestock. His words, they pierced my heart like ice. Was everything I've fought for all these years all for nothing? Was I still unable to change our fate and all those people I swore to protect? Are they really going to meet a tragic end? Because of me, right at that moment, that same ancient gentle voice echoed in my mind once again. Successor, the true meaning of protection has never been a solo fight. Look behind you, look at everything you're fighting for. You aren't fighting this battle alone. I snapped my head up. Looking through the palace dome, I saw what was happening outside. The East Sea defense line. General Zhao Yingquan and his troops, battered and bruised, were still holding the line. Out on the Pacific, the black monolith leads the pod of orcas, still charging into the swarm of beasts wave after wave, and in the Arctic Ocean, Ah Chang leading his people on fishing boats, saving countless civilians from drowning. Never backing down even in the face of those monsters all around the globe. Countless humans and countless sea creatures, fighting tooth and nail to defend their home. And 1,400,000,000 people across the nation, cheering for me in front of their screens. Praying for my victory. Come on, God of Slaughter, you can do it. We believe in you. I stared at the fallen Poseidon right in front of me. All fear had completely vanished from my eyes. There was only unwavering absolute resolve. I unleashed the full power of the Poseidon form and snapped his tentacles clean off. I opened my jaws wide and let out the ultimate Poseidon. This roar carried all my determination from my rebirth. The conviction to protect everything I hold dear and the fierce will of all living things to survive. An invisible shockwave blasted outwards like a golden tide. The fallen Poseidon let out an agonizing roar, and the tentacles grabbing me shattered into pieces instantly. He staggered backward. Right then, the Poseidon core hovering in the center of the palace suddenly burst into brilliant golden light. It felt my heart. It felt my unwavering resolve to protect this world. In a flash, it turned into a beam of golden light and surged into my body. Boom! An indescribable massive power, and swept through me like a tidal wave, and my body began to grow rapidly within the golden light. Shooting up from 70 meters to 100 meters, golden scales coated my entire body. Countless ancient patterns lit up all over me. The power of the ancient ocean guardian merged perfectly with my prehistoric Megalodon bloodline. Ding, congratulations on successfully inheriting the Poseidon core. Unlocked ultimate form of the ocean god. Ding, all skills upgraded to god tier. Unlocked ultimate divine miracle. Ocean purification. Capable of purging all nuclear radiation and genetic mutations from the global seas. Ding, congratulations, you have gained absolute control over the global oceans. You can now command the power of the entire ocean as your own. I looked down at my new body, feeling the surge of power within me, power strong enough to rule the entire sea. Slowly, I lifted my head and locked eyes with the fallen Poseidon. You're wrong! My voice echoed through the water, carrying across the entirety of Atlantis. The ocean was never meant to be your tool for domination. It is the cradle of life, a home we must protect with all our hearts. You want to devour me? You want to rule the seas? Then let's see if you've actually got the guts to try. I gave my tail fin a fierce flick. The waters of the entire ancient city of Atlantis began to churn with my every move. Countless golden blades of water slashed violently toward the fallen sea god. He let out a furious roar as innumerable black tentacles rose to meet them, smashing against the water blades. An earth-shattering battle erupted in the ancient city of Atlantis. I controlled the full power of the ocean. The seawater became my weapon, and wherever the golden light touched, all radiation was instantly purified, and all mutated beasts were instantly annihilated. The fallen sea god's power was immense, but it was born from pollution and destruction. My power, however, came from gift from the entire ocean. Fueled by the hope of all living things, with his power waning and mine growing, he was gradually losing ground. Impossible, I am the sea god. I am the ruler of the seas. How could you possibly defeat me? He shrieked hysterically, unleashing every last bit of his power. His entire body transformed into a black torrent, charging furiously toward me, intending to take me down with him. I watched as he rushed forward, and slowly opened my massive jaws, unleashing my ultimate miracle ocean evolution. A blinding golden light erupted from my mouth, illuminating the entire deep sea like a sun. Wherever the golden light reached, the black corruption was instantly purified. The fallen sea. God let out a blood-curdling scream as his body began to dissolve in the golden light, disintegrating piece by piece. No, I won't accept this. I've waited for millennia. I refuse to accept this. Those were his last words in this world. Then his entire body was completely purified by the light vanishing into the seawater, without leaving a single trace, the world-ending conspiracy he had plotted for eons. The mastermind behind the apocalyptic disaster was finally and utterly destroyed by me. Congratulations, host. You have successfully slain the fallen sea god and completed the ultimate hidden mission legacy of the sea god. Ultimate miracle ocean purification has been triggered, commencing global ocean purification protocol. Detecting a rapid decrease in global nuclear radiation levels. All beast eggs have ceased incubation. Low-level mutated beasts are being instantly purified. As the system prompts rang out, I transformed into a streak of golden light, burst out of the ancient city of Atlantis and rose to the surface of the sea. I opened my massive jaws facing the oceans of the entire blue star, and once again activated ocean purification. A boundless golden light surged out like a tidal wave, sweeping over every corner of the globe's oceans. The seawater, polluted by nuclear waste for decades, became crystal clear again under the golden radiance. The nuclear radiation in the water was instantly and completely purified without a single trace remaining. As for the hideously mutated beasts within the golden light, the mutation factors in their bodies were completely purged and they reverted back to normal sea creatures. The unhatched beast eggs instantly ceased their development, turning back into ordinary fish eggs and returning to their natural state. At that moment, the global beast tide came to a complete halt. When the golden light faded, sunlight once again shone down upon the sea's surface. The ocean, once murky, foul and filled with blood, returned to its deep azure blue. It was clear to the very bottom, brimming with life. Everyone on the coastlines was stunned. The beasts that had been frantically attacking were suddenly gone. The deafening cannon fire suddenly stopped. The air of despair that had filled the air was replaced by a fresh sea breeze when they saw my 100-meter-long golden body floating gently on the surface of the sea like a true god of the ocean, gazing down upon the waters as life returned to them. Everyone finally realized it. We had won. We had actually won in an instant. A deafening cheer erupted in every corner of the globe along the coastlines. Countless people embraced each other, weeping, waving, and shouting in my direction. The livestream chat was completely flooded as millions shed tears of joy in front of their screens. We won. We didn't repeat the mistakes of our past life. We protected our home. We defended this beautiful blue ocean. General Zhao Yingquan stood at the bow of the research vessel, tears streaming down his aged face as he looked at me, and gave me the most solemn military salute. Everyone else on the ship saluted me in unison. Blackfin and his pod of orcas, along with Scarlet and the allied ocean army, slowly gathered around me, gently and affectionately rubbing against my golden scales, letting out joyous cries. They had won this battle. They had protected their home. I looked at my companions beside me, at the cheering crowds on the shore, and at this vibrant blue ocean now restored to life, and my heart was filled with warmth. In my past life, I died fighting to protect China, devoured by alien beasts filled with endless regret and resentment. This time I was reborn as a young Megalodon, and the first thing was offer myself to the nation, kicking off a campaign where all 1.4 billion people fed me. I devoured, I evolved, I fought my way up, and in the end I reversed the apocalypse and saved the entire planet. I did it. I protected everything I ever wanted to protect. The story had a perfect and happy ending. The captured Dr. Rosen and his accomplices were put on trial before all of humanity and sentenced to life in prison, where they would spend the rest of their lives atoning for the sins they had committed. The nations of the world jointly issued the most stringent ocean protection treaty in history, completely banning all forms of nuclear wastewater discharge and establishing ecological protection zones across the 4 major oceans. They invested trillions to restore the damaged marine ecosystem, doing everything in their power to protect the blue ocean that birthed all life. The areas once contaminated by nuclear radiation under the power of ocean purification were brought back to life. Coral reefs that had vanished for years grew colorful coral once more. Migrating schools of fish refilled the empty ocean currents, and countless marine creatures returned to their homes. The entire ocean was vibrant and teeming with life again, more brilliant than ever before. And as for me, the guardian of the ocean, the sea god of China, I didn't remain in the distant ancient city of Atlantis. Instead, I returned to the East China Sea. The nation designated a vast marine sanctuary for me there. Here was no pollution, no fishing. It became a paradise for marine life, and also the most famous marine sanctuary in the world. Countless people came from all over the globe just to catch a glimpse of the sea god Megalodon, who had seen the entire planet. Even the slightest glimpse of my tail fin from a distance would send them into a frenzy of cheers. The nationwide feeding frenzy from 1.4 billion people was still going strong, even more intense than before. Every day, countless fishing boats come to the East Sea bringing the freshest, highest quality bait. They feed me and my ocean companions, and the netizens even gave this feeding activity a cute name, making offerings to Shasha. Every day they post online about the ingredients the fishermen from all over have prepared for us, coming up with all sorts of nutritious meals for me. On social media platforms, my exclusive hashtag dominates the trending list every single day. Netizens have given me all kinds of cute nicknames like Shasha the Giant and Sea Cucumber Baby. Some people even made sticker packs for me and edited clips of my daily life, constantly asking for updates online. They're more concerned about me than their own 3 meals a day. Today, Shasha chowed down on 20 tons of premium tuna. The captain of the feeding boat said Shasha devoured half a boatload of fish in a single gulp. The kid was completely stunned. OMG, I'm at the East Sea Conservation Zone, and I got a shot of Shasha leading Little Red in the orca pod. Let's go. He even uses his tail fin to splash the kids with water. How can there be such an adorable prehistoric beast? Duan. Latest news, Shasha has unlocked a new achievement, leading the marine rescue team to save a boat of fishermen that had run aground. Now the entire internet is calling me Shasha the Divine. I flicked my tail fin and swallowed the entire crate of fresh fish dropped by the feeding boat in one go. The system's notification tone chimed endlessly in my mind, like a cash register with non-stop transactions. The sound filled me with joy. Host has successfully devoured a school of premium bluefin tuna, gaining 200 evolution points. Ding Host's level has increased to level 40. Body length has grown to 120 meters. The body of the sea god has evolved once again. Immune to all physical and energy attacks. Ding detected that Host's reputation value has broken its peak. Unlock the ultimate passive skill, Ocean Monarch. All non-mutated marine creatures will now unconditionally obey the host's commands. I shook my head in satisfaction. My 120-meter-long body shifted slightly in the water, stirring up gentle waves several meters high. On the sightseeing platform ashore, countless tourists erupted in deafening cheers. A few children holding up drawing boards with my picture on them leaned against the railing and waved their little hands non-stop. Shouting my name, I swished my tail fin, flinging up a string of crystal-clear water droplets that formed a 7-colored rainbow in the sunlight. It landed perfectly in front of the sightseeing platform. The children's cheers grew even louder. Even the adults beside them couldn't help but pull out their phones and frantically record the moment. Beside me, Little Red waved its thick tentacles, trying to copy me by splashing water. But it used too much force and ended up throwing half the sea's surface into the air, drenching the people on the shore in a cool shower. The tourists weren't angry at all. In fact, they laughed even harder, waving continuously at Little Red. Little Red shyly retracted its tentacles and hid behind me, revealing only its big round eyes to peek out secretly, while Blackie led the orca pod at the outer edge of the conservation zone, lined up in a neat formation. They patrolled back and forth like a group of dedicated security guards. Ever since the global mutated beast tide ended, they've become the ocean police of the East Sea. Every day they're either chasing away illegal fishing boats or rescuing trapped marine life, busy as can be. Even the East Sea Coast Guard presented them with a Guardians of the Ocean banner, which now hangs in the most prominent spot on the research vessel. Life was leisurely and pleasant. Every day I eat top-tier ingredients fed to me by the entire nation and patrol the East Sea with my companions. Every now and then, I'd tour the world's oceans, cleansing the last traces of scattered radiation. I'd rescue ships in distress and help out marine life. Life couldn't have been more peaceful. For a while, I really thought the apocalyptic tragedy of my past life was truly over. I thought my days would be peaceful and beautiful from then on. But I forgot that in this bottomless ocean, there are always secrets and dangers lurking unknown to man. That night, I was on patrol in the deep sea with Little Red and Blackback. As I was checking on the recovery of the coral reefs, the system's red alert suddenly blared in my mind without any warning. The piercing sound made every golden scale on my body instantly tense up. Beep! Highest level warning. Abnormal energy fluctuations detected in the South Pacific. Radiation levels have instantaneously exceeded the critical threshold by 5,000 times. Beep! Highest level warning. Awakening of ancient biological gene sequence detected. Origin point, the deepest part of the Tonga Trench in the South Pacific. Beep. High-level warning. A massive cluster of mutated creatures has been detected. Their numbers exceed 100,000 and they are moving rapidly toward the surrounding waters. My heart sank. Something was very wrong. But I had already used ocean purification to completely cleanse the entire world's oceans of nuclear radiation. I didn't even spare the deepest trenches. How could such high radiation levels appear out of nowhere? And an ancient biological gene sequence awakening? What in the world is hiding in the Tonga Trench? Blackback seemed to sense the unusual presence in the water too. He let out a wary low cry and the orcapod instantly snapped into a battle formation. They formed a protective circle around me and Little Red. Little Red too shed her usual gentle demeanor. Her thick tentacles tensed up, her eyes locked onto the darkness of the deep sea. Ready for a fight, I immediately sent a sonar command to Blackback and Little Red. I ordered them to take the pod and return to the East Sea defensive line at once. They were to report the situation here to General Zhao Yingquan and initiate Level 1 combat readiness. As for me, I activated max-level deep-sea stealth and shot off towards the Tonga Trench in the South Pacific. I had to see for myself what was causing this sudden anomaly. There was no way I would let the oceans, which had just found peace, plunge back into an apocalyptic crisis, boosted by deep-sea stealth. My speed was pushed to its absolute limit, a journey of tens of thousands of kilometers. It took me less than 2 hours, but when I arrived above the Tonga Trench, the sight before me made my blood run cold. The once pristine waters of the South Pacific were now completely shrouded in a thick black pollution. The surface was littered with the corpses of countless sea creatures, their bodies twisted by horrifying mutations. A nauseating stench filled the air, and from the depths of the Tonga Trench, a black polluting liquid was gushing out endlessly. Wherever it spread, all marine life instantly mutated, turning into mindless, bloodthirsty monsters. Warning, energy fluctuations from the fallen sea god's remnant soul detected, confirmed active. Warning, life signals from the ancient aberrant race the deep-sea demon spirits detected. This is an evil race that was sealed away by the guardian of the ocean in ancient times. They sustain themselves by polluting the oceans and devouring all living things. Highest level warning. The fallen sea god's remnant soul has entered a symbiotic relationship with the deep-sea demon spirit race. Warning, ancient seal is breaking, estimated time until at least 72 hours. Demonic spirit tribe contamination detected spreading through global waters. Mutated creature attacks have been reported along coastal defense lines. The system's alerts blared one after another and a storm raged within me. A twist, a massive twist. I thought I had completely destroyed the fallen sea god. I never expected him to have an ace up his sleeve planned long before I ever evolved. He had split off a wisp of his soul and escaped to the Tonga Trench. And he unsealed the deep-sea demonic spirit tribe who had been imprisoned since ancient times. In my past life's apocalypse, there was never anything like a deep-sea demonic spirit tribe. I realized it in an instant. The beast nests from my previous life were just a prelude to the demonic spirit tribe's invasion. The reason humanity was 99% wiped out within a month wasn't just because of the beast nests. It was a full-scale invasion by the demonic spirit tribe. And the fallen sea god was nothing more than a pawn they pushed to the front lines. In that moment of shock, a cold, malevolent psychic energy suddenly shot out from the depths of the trench and coiled around my body. Then a familiar yet strange voice echoed in my mind. It was the voice of the fallen sea god I thought I had destroyed. Long time no see, my dear successor. Surprised I'm still alive. His voice was laced with insane laughter. Did you think evolving the ocean and destroying my main body was the end? How naive, you have no idea what kind of existence you're up against. In ancient times, the ocean guardians gave everything they had, just to seal our demonic spirit tribe in the depths of the trenches for millions of years. We have finally waited for the day we would see the sun again. The nuclear waste was our key. The fallen sea god was our pawn, and even your rebirth was within our calculations. Why do you think you were reborn? Why did you awaken the Devour and Purify System? That was the last lingering will of the ocean guardians struggling. They wanted to choose a successor to stop me. But what a pity. The one they chose is just too weak. My pupils shrank. Another twist. My rebirth, my system, none of it was an accident. I was chosen by the last lingering will of the ancient ocean guardians, sent back to stop the demonic spirit tribe's invasion. But everything I went through before this was just part of a grand scheme set up by the demonic spirit tribe to completely shatter the ocean guardians' legacy. You think you inherited the sea god's core that was nothing but bait we, the demonic spirit tribe, deliberately left for you. The fallen sea god's soul let out a piercing, maniacal laugh. When you used it to evolve the ocean, you were already unknowingly shattering the seal nodes across the globe. Now all the seals have been loosened. The grand army of our demonic spirit tribe will soon surge forth from every trench. This entire planet will be ours for the taking, and you, this perfect body, a fusion of the sea god's core and the bloodline of a prehistoric Megalodon, will become the new vessel for our demonic spirit lord. Before his words could even fade, from the depths of the Tonga Trench, an energy wave of unimaginable terror erupted. Countless black figures surged out from the depths. Their bodies were covered in pitch-black scales. They had the upper body of a human and the lower body of a fish wielding spears forged from deep-sea cold iron. Pairs of blood-red eyes stared me down, glowing with a bloodthirsty light. Leading them was a demonic spirit warrior over 100 meters long. In his hand was a massive ancient blade, and his aura was every bit as powerful as the fallen sea god's original form. He let out a hoarse roar as he looked at me, then instantly led the demonic spirit army in a charge straight for me. Warning, host is surrounded by an army of 100,000 demonic spirits. The enemy's highest combat power is level 45, far exceeding the host's current level. Evacuate immediately. Warning seals in all the world's oceanic trenches have been detected, loosening simultaneously. The demonic spirit army has fully awakened. It is projected that all the world's oceans will fall within 24 hours. I knew deep down that fighting them head-on right now would be suicide. The demonic spirit's power was far beyond what I had imagined, and the fallen sea god's remnant soul was still lying in wait. If I got tied down, I'd have no chance of escape. I had to live to fight another day. I had to get back to the EC immediately and find a way to deal with this. I had to uncover the truth of the Guardian of the Ocean's legacy, and I absolutely could not let Lan Xin fall into the hands of the demonic spirits. I threw open my massive jaws and let out a deafening sea god's roar. The god-level sonic skill erupted at full power, instantly blasting the demonic spirit warriors at the very front to pieces. Black blood stained the entire sea red right after I triggered my max-level short-range boost. My 120-meter-long body shot forward like a bolt of golden lightning, instantly breaking through the demonic spirit's encirclement. I raced frantically towards China's EC with the massive demonic spirit army in hot pursuit. Countless attacks of dark energy came hurtling toward me. I activated my god-level high-intensity defense, and a golden shield enveloped my entire body. I tanked all the attacks head-on my speed, not slowing in the slightest. Warning, host has been hit by the demonic spirit's dark energy. The sea god's body is corroding. Self-healing ability decreased by 30%. Warning, coastal defense lines worldwide are under attack by mutated demonic spirit creatures. Multiple defense lines are in critical condition. Warning, demonic spirit contamination fluctuations have been detected in the EC region. The defense line has activated the highest level red alert. My heart sank. I was one step too late. The demonic spirit's invasion was even faster than I'd imagined. I had to get back as soon as possible. Otherwise, the tragedy of my past life would repeat itself, but in an even more horrific way. Racing at full speed, it only took me 1 hour to get back to the EC. But the sight before me made my heart clench instantly. The once clear azure EC was now scarred with streaks of black contamination. Countless mutated sea creatures were frantically assaulting the coastal defense line. The sounds of cannon fire, monstrous roars, and alarms ripped through the sky. General Zhao Yingquan stood on the command ship, his expression grave as he directed the battle. The soldiers held the line, refusing to retreat a single step, with Blackback leading the orcapod. Little Red was leading the Ocean Alliance, fighting furiously against the mutated creatures at the very forefront of the defense. Blackback's body was already covered in several wounds so deep you could see the bone. His blood stained the surrounding water, but he kept leading the orcas, charging the mutated creatures again and again, desperately holding back the tide of the assault. Little Red wasn't doing much better. Several of his tentacles had been bitten off by the creatures. Though he'd regrown them with his Leviathan regeneration ability, his energy was clearly fading. But he still held his ground at the front, buying time for the human soldiers behind him to attack. Seeing me return, the humpback let out an excited yet weary cry. Little Red also let out an aggrieved whimper in my direction. A low, furious growl escaped me as I looked at my wounded comrades. Seeing the soldiers fighting and bleeding on the front lines, a monstrous rage erupted from the depths of my soul. How dare they touch my people? How dare they invade my home? I threw open my massive jaws and unleashed my god-tier sonic ability at full power. The mutated creatures charging the defensive line were instantly obliterated, their brains bursting from the shockwave. They plummeted toward the seafloor, and then I activated my Ocean Affinity passive. I issued a command to every living creature in the entire East Sea attack. Instantly, countless schools of fish sharks and whales swarmed in from all directions to join the battle. They formed a massive marine coalition, launching a counterattack against the mutated abominations. Ding the Host has successfully commanded all marine life in the East Sea. The Marine Coalition has grown to over 1 million strong. Ding the Host has successfully repelled the mutated creature invasion in the East Sea. 1,000 evolution points awarded. Host level increased to 42. Body length has grown to 130 meters. The intimidating effect of the sea god's form activated, and the crisis at the front line was instantly resolved. When the soldiers saw I had returned, they erupted in a deafening cheer. I slowly swam to the command ship and used Morse code to relay my discoveries in the Tonga Trench. The truth about the demon spirit tribe and the conspiracy of the fallen sea god's remnant soul. I told General Zhao Yingquan every single word. After listening, General Zhao Yingquan's face went pale and the baton in his hand fell clattering onto the deck. He had studied the ocean his entire life, yet he never knew. He never knew that such a terrifying abyss was hidden in the deep sea. He never knew that all our previous victories were nothing more than carefully laid traps by the enemy. Sea God, what should we do now? General Zhao Yingquan's voice was urgent. Yet there wasn't a trace of panic. Defense lines in every country across the globe were already sounding the alarm. The demon spirit tribe's corruption was spreading at an incredible speed. In 3 days at most, the entire ocean would be completely corrupted. Just then, Jia Yu and his deep-sea exploration team came rushing over holding a tablet. Their faces were grim. General Sea God, we've just deciphered the ancient inscriptions. Sent back from the ruins of Atlantis, we've discovered the full truth about the Guardians of the Ocean and the Demon Spirit Tribe. In ancient times, the Guardian Tribe sealed all of their power into the Sea God's core to fight the Demon Spirit Tribe. Only a successor with the true heart of a protector can unlock the core's full power. What you've unlocked so far shows barely 1/10 of the Sea God's core's true strength. To unlock the ultimate power of the Sea God's core, you must collect the 5 Guardian fragments scattered across the 5 oceans, at the bottom of the 5 deepest trenches. These 5 fragments are sealed in the deepest parts of the Mariana Trench, the Tonga Trench, the Puerto Rico Trench, the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, and the Peru-Chile Trench. Only by gathering all the fragments can you fully awaken the Sea God's core, destroy the Demon Spirit Tribe, and reseal the trench nodes around the world. My heart pounded, so that's how it is. No wonder I felt like I hadn't reached the full potential of the Sea God's core. It turns out I had only unlocked 1/10 of its power. To completely destroy the Demon Spirit Tribe, I must gather the 5 Guardian fragments and awaken the ultimate power of the Sea God's core. But these 5 fragments are hidden in the deepest ocean trenches on the planet. And now, these ocean trenches had all become nests for the Demon Spirit race. To collect all the fragments, I'd have to break through layer after layer of their blockades. Going deep into their lair was like pulling a tooth from a tiger's mouth. A suicide mission. Just as I was considering a plan, a system notification suddenly put in my mind. Ultimate main quest detected. The Guardian's inheritance has been triggered. Mission objective: collect the 5 Guardian fragments from the depths of the world's 5 oceans. Awaken the ultimate power of the Sea God's core and completely annihilate the Demon Spirit race. Reseal the global trench nodes and protect the peace of Langson. Mission reward: unlock the ultimate god-level form of the Ocean Guardian. All skills will break their god-level cap. Gain permanent control over the oceans of Langson. The system will be permanently bound, rapidly unlocking infinite evolutionary possibilities. Penalty for failure: full-scale invasion by the demon spirit race. Langston will be completely overrun, all life will be extinguished. I stared at the mission on the system panel, my gaze instantly becoming unshakably firm. In my past life, I was willing to sacrifice myself to protect my homeland. This time to protect all of Langston, to protect the billions of my countrymen behind me, to protect all life. Forget a slim chance of survival. I would charge through hell and high water if I had to. I immediately used Morse code to relay my plan to General Zhao Yingquan. We would launch a 5-pronged attack, a coordinated global operation. Humanity's armies would hold the world's coastlines, fending off the demon spirit race's assault while I led my allied ocean forces to the trenches of the 5 oceans to gather the guardian fragments. General Zhao Yingquan didn't hesitate for a second. He immediately nodded in agreement. He contacted the leaders of every nation across the globe at once, informing them of the truth about the demon spirit race and my entire plan. Within a single hour, every country in the world reached a consensus. They would form a global united defense line using the full might of humanity to buy me time, holding the coastlines to cover me as I gathered the guardian fragments. Suwon led the world's most elite medical teams, forming dozens of field medic squads. They rushed to the front lines around the globe, ready to treat injured soldiers and marine life at a moment's notice. Xiaoyu led the deep-sea exploration team, providing me with 24-hour satellite navigation and seafloor terrain mapping, precisely pinpointing the location of each guardian fragment. Zhao Hu led the nation's fishing fleets, organizing them into a maritime supply corps to provide a continuous stream of supplies for the global defense lines and my ocean allies. Jeremy Wade traveled across every sea using his influence to call upon the world's marine conservation organizations to join the fight and protect our blue ocean together. Along with the indigenous tribes of the Arctic, formed the Arctic Defense Line. They held the entrance to the Arctic Ocean with everything they had, blocking the demon spirit army that poured out from the Arctic Trench. These were all the same people who had sacrificed themselves to protect humanity. And in this life, they were standing shoulder to shoulder with me once again. The next morning, the global joint operation officially began. The world's coastal defenses opened fire simultaneously, unleashing countless volleys of artillery upon the mutated creatures in the ocean. Humanity's armies held the line, engaging in a desperate life-or-death battle with the vanguard of the demon spirit race. And as for me, I initiated my 5-pronged assault, beginning my journey to gather the guardian fragments. Blackfin led the main orca pod to the Coral Trench in the Arctic Ocean, searching for the first guardian fragment. Xiao Hong took her deep-sea legion of the Leviathan bloodline to the Atlantic to claim a trench in search of the second guardian fragment. I contacted the Emperor Penguin colonies and the blue whale pods of Antarctica. They formed the Antarctic Alliance and headed for the South Pacific toward the Peru Chile Trench to find the third guardian fragment. Jeremy Wade, along with the world's top deep-sea exploration team, joined forces with my Ocean Legion and headed to the Mariana Trench to find the fourth guardian fragment. As for me, I went straight to the heart of the Berlin Clan's territory, the Tonga Trench in the South Pacific, to find the final and most crucial guardian fragment. This journey was destined to be filled with peril and bloodshed, but not a single one of us backed down. To protect this ocean, to protect our home, we had no other choice. When I arrived at the Tonga Trench again, the place had been completely transformed into a nest for the demon spirit race. Countless demon spirit warriors patrolled the area. A black corruption poured endlessly from the trench's depths. The entire region radiated a suffocating malice. I activated my max-level Master of Disguise, transforming my body to mimic a massive undersea reef. I suppressed my entire aura and moved silently toward the deepest part of the trench. I remained in stealth for the whole journey. Even the elite warriors of the demon spirit race couldn't detect a trace of me, but the deeper I went into the trench, the more demon spirits I encountered and the worse the corruption became. Even with my sea god's body, I felt a bone-chilling cold. On my system panel, the radiation levels were skyrocketing, already tens of thousands of times past the critical threshold. Guardian fragment signal detected. Location: deepest part of the Tonga Trench sealing ground of the Spirit Overlord. Warning: life signature of the Demon Spirit Overlord detected. Level far exceeds current understanding. Threat level: disdain. Current status: sealed in slumber. Awakening imminent. My heart sank. The most crucial guardian fragment was right here in the Demon Spirit Overlord's sealing ground, and the fallen sea god's remnant soul was hiding here for the sole purpose of awakening that overlord. Once it awakens, the entire planet is truly finished. Without a moment's hesitation, I pressed on toward the deepest part of the trench. Even if I was walking into a death trap, I had to break in and get that guardian fragment. This was our only chance. 2 hours later, I finally reached the bottom of the Tonga Trench. This is one of the deepest places on Earth where the water pressure is enough to crush the hardest of alloys. And yet a massive black palace had been built here. Countless ancient sealing runes were carved all around it. This was the sealing ground of the demon spirit overlord in the very center of the palace. A golden diamond-shaped fragment floated, radiating a warm and immense power. It was the core guardian fragment I was searching for, and beneath it, a boundless black mist was sealed, hiding a figure of ultimate terror within. The slumbering demon spirit overlord, the fallen sea god's remnant soul, meanwhile, was floating right beside the fragment, relentlessly blasting the protective shield around it, with dark energy muttering, "Soon, it's almost time." Once this final shield is broken, the overlord will fully awaken, and the entire world will be ours for the taking. Staring at the guardian fragment right in front of me, a plan instantly clicked into place. Now was the perfect chance, a surprise attack, one decisive strike. I'd grab the fragment and retreat immediately. I dropped my Master of Disguise. My burst speed instantly triggered to its maximum, and my 130-meter-long golden body shot forward like a bolt of lightning at the remnant soul of the fallen sea god. Before it could even react, I clamped my jaws around the guardian fragment. Ding! Successfully obtained the Tonga Trench Core Guardian Fragment. And Fragment 71-5. Sea God's core power unlocked by 20%. Ding! Ocean Purification skill power has doubled. Can now purify the dark corruption of the Shadow Fiend clan. The moment the system notification sounded, the fallen sea god's remnant soul finally reacted. When it saw the guardian fragment in my mouth, it let out a hysterical roar. "You! How dare you trespass here? Give me that fragment!" It instantly transformed into a black torrent, charging violently towards me. The surrounding Shadow Fiend warriors also reacted in an instant, and countless black attacks rained down on me like bullets, but I had no intention of getting bogged down in a fight. The moment I had the fragment, I activated deep sea stealth and turned frantically, charging out of the trench. At the same time, I opened my massive jaws and unleashed the upgraded ocean purification. A dazzling golden light erupted from my mouth, and everywhere it touched, the black corruption was instantly cleansed. The charging Shadow Fiend warriors let out piercing screams as their bodies dissolved bit by bit in the golden light. The fallen sea god's remnant soul was also caught in the blast, letting out a pained roar. Its aura weakened considerably. Seizing the opportunity, I shot out of the Tonga Trench, racing towards the East Sea at top speed. But I hadn't gotten far when from the depths of the trench, an utterly terrifying aura suddenly erupted. A black wave of energy like a tsunami surged violently after me. It was the Shadow Fiend Sovereign. He had been awakened. The black energy wave caught up to me in an instant, slamming viciously into my back. Even with my god-tier high-level defense, it shattered instantly. I felt like I'd been hit by an asteroid, smashed brutally onto the seafloor as a mouthful of golden blood sprayed from my jaws. Ding! Warning! Host has been attacked by the Shadow Fiend Sovereign and is critically injured. The sea god's body is on the verge of shattering. Warning! The Shadow Fiend Sovereign's seal is weakening. He is about to awaken completely. All trench seals across the globe are collapsing in sync. I gritted my teeth, forcing myself to endure the excruciating pain racking my entire body. I activated burst speed again, racing forward with reckless abandon. The dense black fog behind me closed in, and the roar of the Shadow Fiend Sovereign echoed in my mind like a demonic curse, making my head spin. Just at this life-or-death moment, a familiar whale song suddenly came from ahead. Blackfin, he'd actually brought the orca pod all the way from the Coral Trench to back me up. Blackfin and his pod charged over like black lightning, forming a wall behind me facing the pursuing black monstrosity. They let out a deafening chorus of whale song, using their own bodies to forge a line of defense for me, and then Hong also arrived with the Deep Sea Army. He had successfully obtained the last Guardian fragment from the trench. The ocean purification can cover every sea on the planet, completely wiping out all of the Demon Spirit Clan's corruption. Countless massive tentacles slammed into the sea, unleashing a monstrous wave, blocking the Demon Spirit Army's advance. Beep, acquired 1,000 Islands Trench Guardian fragment, along with 2/5 of its power. The Sea God's core power is now 40% unlocked. Beep, acquired the second Trench Guardian fragment, along with 3/5 of its power. The Sea God's core power is now 60% unlocked. Beep, body of the Sea God fully restored, level increased to 45. My body length grew to 150 meters, and the power of the 3 fragments merged in an instant. An immense power surged through my entire body. My wounds healed in a flash, and my strength multiplied several times over. I turned to face the pursuing Demon Spirit Army, opened my massive jaws, and let out a Sea God's roar. The upgraded Sonic Wave ability instantly blasted outwards. The pursuing demon spirit army was instantly shattered to pieces by the blast. The remnant soul of the fallen sea god was also caught in the blast, letting out a scream of utter despair, as it was completely obliterated, leaving not a single trace behind. That vile fallen sea god had finally been erased from the world for good. But there was no time to celebrate. Urgent news came from both the Mariana Trench and the Peru-Chile Trench. The main forces of the Demon Spirit Army were besieging both locations, and the Allied forces guarding the fragments were on the verge of collapse. I immediately gave the order to split our forces. Haibei would lead the Orca Pod to reinforce the Peru-Chile Trench, while I, along with Xiao Hong and the Deep Sea Alliance, would head for the Mariana Trench. A war spanning the entire globe had officially begun. By the time Xiao Hong and I reached the Mariana Trench, the battle had already reached a fever pitch. The expedition team led by Jeremy Wade and my Ocean Alliance were completely surrounded by hundreds of thousands of demon spirit soldiers. They were on their last legs, and the trench's seal had been completely shattered. Countless demon spirit warriors were pouring out from the depths of the trench. The besieged Allied forces instantly erupted in a deafening cheer. Without a moment's hesitation, I led Xiao Hong and the Deep Sea Alliance, charging straight into the enemy's encirclement like a golden blade, and forcefully tore an opening in their lines. I activated ocean purification at full power. Wherever the golden light touched, the demon spirits dissolved, and the black corruption was instantly cleansed. At the same time, my Devour skill activated. With every demon spirit warrior I devoured, my evolution points skyrocketed, and my strength grew continuously. Beep! Host has successfully devoured an elite demon spirit warrior. Gained 500 evolution points. Host level increased to 48. Body length increased to 180 meters. Beep. Acquired the Mariana Trench Guardian fragment along with 4/5 of its power. Sea God's core power is now 80% unlocked. Beep. Unlocked God tier skill, Wrath of the Sea God. Allows you to command the power of the ocean to deliver a devastating blow to your target. The moment I got the 4th fragment, good news came from Haibei. They had successfully repelled the Demon Spirit Army at the Peru-Chile Trench and secured the final Guardian fragment. Beep! All 5 Guardian fragments have been collected. The ultimate power of the Sea God's core has been unlocked. Beep! Congratulations, host. You have successfully inherited the legacy of the entire ancient Ocean Guardian race. Unlocked ultimate God tier Ocean Guardian form. Beep! All skills have surpassed the God tier limit. I gained complete control over all the world's oceans, able to command their full power with a single thought, churning the seas and turning the tides. A series of system chimes echoed in my mind as the 5 golden guardian fragments instantly merged within my consciousness. They transformed into a blinding golden light, becoming one with the sea god's core. An indescribable colossal power erupted inside of me like a cosmic explosion. My body rapidly grew within the golden light, shooting up from 180 meters to 300. Golden scales covered my entire body, and countless ancient guardian runes lit up across my skin. I could clearly feel the currents of every sea on the planet, the movement of every single fish. Every rise and fall of the seafloor was under my command. I am the ocean, and the ocean is me. Just I fully awakened my ultimate form, a world-destroying black energy suddenly erupted from the direction of the Tonga Trench. The Lord of the Demon Spirit race had completely broken the seal, and the entire blue star trembled violently. From the trenches of every ocean, endless hordes of black demonic creatures surged forth. The entire army of the Demon Spirit race had finally poured out, and the sky was shrouded in a black mist. Sunlight could no longer reach the surface of the sea, and the entire world seemed to plunge into hell in an instant. The figure of the Demon Spirit Lord slowly rose from the Tonga Trench. He was over 1,000 meters long, his entire body shrouded in black mist. A pair of crimson eyes like 2 blood-red moons locked dead onto my position. Puny successor to the Guardian, did you really think collecting all the fragments would be enough to stop me? His voice thundered across the entire blue star, whether on land or in the sea. Every living being could hear his voice clearly. Millions of years ago, your ancestors gave everything they had and still couldn't kill me. They could only seal me away. And you think you can stand in my way? Now I'll give you 2 choices. Either offer up your body as my vessel and I might spare humanity. Let them live as our slaves, or I will crush you completely. And I'll let every living thing on this blue star die along with you. I looked at his colossal form that blotted out the sun, sensing the ultimate terrifying power radiating from him. But I felt not a single trace of fear. If our ancestors could seal him millions of years ago, then today I can destroy him for good. I slowly raised my head and let out a roar that shook the heavens and the earth. My voice traveled through the oceans, reaching every corner of the globe. It carried clearly to the ears of every single person. I'll give you two choices. Either crawl back into your trench to be sealed away again and I might leave your corpse intact, or I will use the power of the ocean to wipe you and your entire demon spirit race from the face of this planet. This ocean is the cradle of life, not your personal hunting ground. This blue star is our home, you have no right to run wild here. As my words faded, all the world's oceans roared with me. They raised monstrous waves that reached the sky. Countless sea creatures surged from every ocean on the planet. They formed a vast united ocean army. Raising monstrous waves, countless sea creatures surged from every ocean on the planet, forming a vast united ocean army. They gathered behind me, standing shoulder to shoulder with me. And on the coastlines, the armies of humanity raised their weapons as one. All firepower was aimed at the main demon spirit army in the sky. Billions of people around the world stood as one, fighting alongside me in their own ways. Utterly enraged by my words, the demon spirit lord let out a deafening roar. The black mist filling the sky morphed into countless tendrils of dark energy. They rained down violently, aimed at me and the entire planet. You ignorant fool! If you're so eager to die, then I'll gladly oblige. I will make this entire planet your tomb. As the dark energy rained down, I remained completely calm. I slowly opened my giant maw, summoning the power of every ocean on Earth. I unleashed my ultimate divine power, the greatest strength of the ancient ocean guardian. Azure tide rising. In that instant, every ocean on the planet surged into the sky. The endless ocean formed a golden wall of water that stretched to the heavens, blocking the path of the dark blades. Countless golden water dragons burst forth from the sea. They charged violently towards the demon spirit lord. The golden water dragons slammed into the dark blades. The heavens and the earth trembled with a deafening roar. In an instant, the water dragons tore the dark blades to pieces. The golden tide surged forward like a tsunami, crashing down upon the demon spirit lord. The demon spirit lord let out a roar of disbelief. He couldn't possibly understand how I was able to command the power of the entire planet's oceans. He frantically unleashed his dark energy, trying to block the advance of the golden tide. But before the power of the ocean guardian, his dark energy melted away in an instant like snow before the scorching sun. The golden tide instantly engulfed his body, and I unleashed a max-level ocean purification. A boundless golden light completely enveloped him as he let out a blood-curdling scream. His massive body dissolved and disintegrated bit by bit within the golden light. No, impossible, I've waited for millions of years. I won't accept this. Those were his final words. Then his entire body was completely purified by the golden light, vanishing from the world. Not even a trace was left behind. With the complete annihilation of the demon spirit lord, the black mist covering the globe instantly dispersed. Sunlight shone upon the seas once more, and I activated ocean purification again. A golden light swept like a tide across every sea and every trench on the planet. All of the dark corruption was completely purified. All remaining remnants of the demon spirit clan were completely wiped out. The crisis that had engulfed the entire world was finally over. When the golden light faded, sunlight once again bathed the entire planet. The once polluted oceans returned to their clear azure blue. The surface of the sea sparkled and countless marine creatures swam joyfully in the water. Along the coastlines, there was a deathly silence at first. Then a deafening cheer erupted. Countless people embraced, weeping with joy. They waved and shouted endlessly towards the ocean, "We won! We've truly won! We saved our home!" Congratulations, host, on successfully annihilating the main army of the demon spirit race and completely eradicating their entire kind. Ultimate main quest, complete Legacy of the Guardian. Congratulations, host. You have become the sole guardian of Blue Star's oceans, gaining permanent and absolute control over them. Ding, system completion. The ultimate mission is now permanently bound to the host. Unlimited evolution unlocked. We will accompany the host in guarding the oceans. Ding, reputation with all life on the planet has reached maximum. Title acquired, Sea God of Blue Star. I slowly descended onto the surface of the sea, my 300-meter-long body glowing with a soft golden light in the sun. Blackie led the pod of orcas, while Little Red led the Deep Sea Coalition. Billions of marine creatures from all over the world gathered around me, letting out joyous cries. General Zhao Yingquan, along with representatives from every nation, approached me aboard a scientific research vessel. The old gray-haired general gave me a deep, solemn bow, and the representatives from all over the world bowed to me in unison, expressing their highest respect. "Thank you, Sea God. Thank you for protecting all of Blue Star." I gently swished my tail fin, creating a soft ripple in the water. I used Morse code to tell them there was no need for thanks. I protect this ocean. Guarding our home is my responsibility and the responsibility of every living being. The end of the story was more perfect than anyone could have ever imagined. The demon spirit race was utterly destroyed and the fallen sea god's soul was scattered to the winds. All nuclear radiation and pollution across the globe were completely purified. The nations of the world jointly established the Blue Star Ocean Protection Convention. It was the strictest and most comprehensive marine protection law in history. All nuclear waste dumping was permanently banned and illegal fishing was completely eradicated. Hundreds of marine ecological protection zones were established worldwide with trillions of dollars invested into restoring the ocean's ecosystem. Coral reefs that were once destroyed grew back with vibrant, colorful coral becoming a paradise for the fish. Marine species that were once on the brink of extinction began to rapidly recover in number. The entire ocean was teeming with life once more brilliant and beautiful than ever before. As for me, the guardian of Blue Star's oceans, I didn't retreat into the ancient city of Atlantis. Instead, I remained in the East China Sea in the marine sanctuary the country expanded just for me. It became the most famous marine holy site in the world with tourists visiting from all over every single day. They come to catch a glimpse of the great sea god shark who protected the entire planet and to learn about ocean conservation. They feel the beauty of this ocean with all their hearts. Everyday fishing boats from across the globe arrive in the East China Sea carrying the freshest, highest quality food. They feed me and my marine companions. Netizens joke that now all the top fisheries in the world consider it an honor to supply food for me. With just one bite, I could support half the fishermen on the planet. I didn't let everyone's affection go to waste. Every day, I patrol the sanctuary with Little Red and Blackie. I put on shows for the children who come to see me splashing water to paint rainbows in the air. Occasionally, I'd even swim alongside the tour boats with a pod of gentle whales, bringing countless surprises to the tourists. In my free time, I would lead my ocean coalition on patrols across the globe cleaning up marine debris, rescuing injured sea creatures and cracking down on illegal fishing. Guarding this vast blue ocean, I also worked with Xia Yu's team to explore countless unknown corners of the deep sea, discovering hundreds of new marine species. We unveiled countless secrets of the ancient oceans, giving humanity a much deeper understanding of and reverence for this ocean. I know my watch will never end. My watch will never end. As long as this ocean needs me, as long as my home needs me. I will always be here as the sea god of Huaxia and as the guardian of Lan Xin's ocean. With everything I am, I will protect this world that gave birth to life.